Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Naruto Masters Dragon Sage Mode. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. The village hidden in leaves, Konoha. From the outside, it appeared peaceful, so serene that many travelers chose to settle there. The leader of the village, known as the Hokage, was a kind man. However, beneath this calm facade lay a darker reality. The village was more corrupt than most realized, hidden in the shadows. Hatred simmered among the villagers, a sentiment that was passed down to their children. There was a demon in the village that many despised, and this animosity transformed them into what they loathed. Love was reserved only for a select few. One fateful day, the hatred erupted during a festival held on the 10th of October, marking the anniversary of the defeat of the Juubi no Kitsune 5 years prior, a battle that had cost the life of the Yondaime Hokage. This loss only fueled the villagers' anger toward the Juubi. All that resentment was directed at one boy, Naruto Uzumaki, the jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Alongside the festivities, a cruel event known as the Fox Hunt took place, where the objective was to capture the 5-year-old boy and punish him, believing it would also harm the Juubi. Some even thought the boy was the Juubi itself, stripped of its power by the Yondaime. Uzumaki Naruto, a 5-year-old boy with short, spiky blood-red hair and violet eyes, bore 3 whisker marks on each cheek. He wore a white short-sleeved shirt adorned with the Uzumaki swirl, black pants, and black shinobi sandals. As the jinchuriki of the Juubi, many believed he was the demon itself. Today, on his birthday, he was fleeing from a mob intent on hurting him, a fear that no child should have to endure. He was often confused when people shouted at him, blaming him for the loss of their loved ones, unaware of the Juubi sealed within him. He had faced beatings and pain many times before, but today felt different. There were more villagers and even a few shinobi pursuing him. The beatings had always left him battered, yet he somehow healed within a day or two, regardless of the injuries. Whenever the moon shone brightly and someone chased him, a beautiful woman would appear, almost translucent. Each time she manifested, the villagers would cease their pursuit, allowing him a moment of peace. This was why he often wandered the village at night. The moon made him feel safe, though he didn't understand why. He kept the woman and the comfort the moon provided to himself, wishing he could meet her to express his gratitude. When he wasn't being chased, he endured stares filled with hatred, disgust, and anger from everyone around him, leaving him feeling isolated and unwanted. Yet, gazing at the moon at night brought him solace and a sense of belonging. This habit had developed over the past year. What deepened Naruto's sadness and anger was the fact that whenever he asked his grandfather, the Hokage, about the mistreatment he faced, the responses were nonsensical or evasive. The realization that the one person he trusted knew the reason for his suffering but chose not to share it felt like a betrayal. As he realized he couldn't escape, he stopped running and braced himself for the inevitable pain. The mob taunted him, reveling in their cruelty. They proclaimed that he would pay for sins he had never committed. Despite their jeers, Naruto remained silent, awaiting the ordeal to end. In the past, when asked if he confessed, he would insist he had done nothing wrong, only to incite further anger from the mob. As the mob continued their taunts, Naruto felt a wave of confusion wash over him. They called him Nine Tails, a term he couldn't comprehend. He recalled that the Yondaime had defeated the Juubi, so how could he be the demon? It didn't make sense. Yet, he remembered being labeled as demon, fox, and monster. His birthday coincided with the day the Juubi was defeated, leading him to question his identity further. The mob continued their cruel banter, discussing how the Sandaime had forbidden them from speaking about the Juubi. They questioned why he didn't intervene to stop the beatings. Their agreement to seek revenge on the demon only deepened Naruto's despair. He had read in books that the Hokage was the strongest ninja in the village, capable of protecting him, yet he chose not to. His heart ached at the thought that the only person he could trust allowed him to suffer. In that moment, he resolved to trust only the mysterious woman who appeared to him. Then the beating resumed. After what felt like an eternity, The mob finally ceased their assault, and a Chunin stepped forward, declaring that today was the day the demon would die. The mob cheered in agreement. The Chunin brandished a kunai, preparing to strike, but time seemed to slow for Naruto. He managed to evade the first attack, surprising the Chunin. However, as the shinobi lunged again, Naruto felt a surge of energy as a voice whispered a powerful command. Suddenly, the Chunin and the entire mob were engulfed in black flames. When he turned around, he saw an elderly man in a cloak, with long gray hair and a cane, his eyes glowing with a strange pattern. Before Naruto could ask any questions, the man commanded him to sleep, and a wave of dizziness washed over him before he fell unconscious. When he awoke, he found himself in a cave, lying on a makeshift bed. Turning his head, he saw the old man standing nearby. The man had struck Naruto on the head with his cane. "One question at a time," he said. For the first question, yes, he had indeed taken Naruto. And what he wanted was to train him. Train him? And who was he, anyway? Yes, he wanted to train Naruto. Because he was Naruto's grandfather. His name was Madara Uchiha. Naruto paused, recalling that name from somewhere. It suddenly clicked in his mind. What? But Madara had died fighting Hashirama. "Stop yelling," Madara replied. He had survived his battle against Hashirama thanks to the power of the Sharingan. "Then show your Sharingan," Naruto challenged. Madara activated his Sharingan. "Okay, but how did you live so long?" Naruto was very curious. "I have survived by connecting myself with the Geto Mazo," Madara explained, pointing behind him. Naruto looked and saw a giant statue with a tube-like connection to Madara. "Well, where were you the entire time?" "I was here waiting for you to be of age to train. With my body like this, I couldn't care for a child." Naruto nodded, realizing Madara was extremely old by now. Then a thought struck him. "Hey Madara-Gigi, can you tell me who my parents were?" "Yes, your mother and my daughter was Kushina Uzumaki, known as the Red Death. She was a powerful kunoichi who would have given her life protecting you from the Kyuubi. She was also the former jinchuriki of the Kyuubi." "What is a jinchuriki, Gigi?" A jinchuriki is a human sacrifice, a person who has a bijou or tailed beast inside them. You were the jinchuriki after her. I was the jinchuriki. So I'm not anymore? Is that why the villagers hated me? Yes, the villagers hated you because they thought they could harm the bijou by harming you, which is completely false. And yes, you no longer have the Kyuubi inside you. Luckily, you still possess the amazing healing rate you gained from it. Normally, the jinchuriki dies if the bijou is removed, but I saved you from that fate by injecting Hashirama's cells into you. This will also grant you the ability to use Mokuton, but more about that later." Naruto's whisker marks disappeared when the Kyuubi was removed from him. "And where is the Kyuubi now?" "Sealed inside the Geto Mazo." "Well, back to my parents. Who was my father?" "Your father was the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash. He sealed the Kyuubi into you. So my father is responsible for my suffering. In his defense, it was either seal the Kyuubi in you or let Konoha be destroyed, and you would have been killed along with him and your mother. He told the people to see you as a hero, but he should have known that wouldn't help. Well, I guess I can't really blame him then. Not for that, but they are still alive, and you have 2 sisters. What? They left me behind? I don't know, but you could ask them when they return to the leaf. I will. But why didn't the third tell me? I believe Hiruzen didn't tell you because he didn't trust you with the information. He surely thought you would tell someone about your parents, and then their enemies would send assassins after you. If he had just told me the dangers, I wouldn't have told anyone. I mean, it's not like I want to die. If I'm gone from Konoha, won't they notice and search for me? No, I made a special kind of clone of you and left it there. You will receive the memories when you return. Now, on to important matters. Tomorrow, you will start training. We have 7 years. The first 2 years will focus on physical training, chakra control, taijutsu, kenjutsu, and, of course, shuriken and kunai throwing. The next 2 years will be spent mastering your Sharingan and Mokuton. The 5th and 6th years will involve learning and mastering ninjutsu, genjutsu, and a bit of medical ninjutsu since it is always useful. In the last year, you will gain and master the Manjikyu Sharingan. Okay, I understood everything except the last one. What is the Manjikyu Sharingan? It sounds like a new stage of the Sharingan. Indeed, it is a new stage of the Sharingan. It grants new and powerful abilities, but there is a downside. When you use the Manjikyu too much, you can go blind. But there is a way to fix that problem, right? Yes, there is. If you don't want to go blind, you have to implant another pair of Manjikyu from someone you are related to into your eyes. With that, you will gain the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. If you achieve that, your eyes will no longer suffer from use, and the amount of chakra needed to use the eyes and their abilities will be lower. Alright, now I understand everything. Now just one thing left before you can rest for tomorrow. This here, he said, pointing toward a strange black and white human-like creature, is black and white Zetsu. There are many white Zetsus. They can be used as servants or training partners. Black Zetsu is unique. He is my will, so you can trust him. Then the creature disappeared into the ground, and Madara left Naruto to sleep and rest for the next day. Naruto lay there, contemplating everything that had happened, but eventually he fell asleep. A week later, Naruto finished training, took a shower, and went to sleep. Black Zetsu appeared in Naruto's room and connected to him. He had received a message from Kaguya explaining her plans for the boy. Now he was linking Naruto's mind to Kaguya's seal, something he could only do once. Naruto woke up feeling strange and opened his eyes to see a small landscape featuring a house, a lake, a stream, and an open field. Surrounding it all was a dome-shaped wall and ceiling made of stone. He didn't know where the light came from, but the entire place was perfectly illuminated. Then he heard a voice behind him. "Hello, my dear." Naruto turned around to see the white woman who always seemed to protect him at night. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, with pale eyes like snow, light skin, and very light blue hair that flowed past her feet. She had 2 horns and wore light red lipstick. Her yukata featured purple and yellow stripes that stopped at her chest and continued to the bottom. Naruto recognized her as the woman who had always protected him from the villagers at night. She introduced herself as Kaguya Otsutsuki but explained that she could no longer protect him because all her chakra in the outside world was depleted. Naruto nodded, still somewhat stunned by her beauty. He had seen her before, but she had always appeared almost translucent. He expressed his gratitude for her presence, acknowledging that he had never had anyone else to rely on besides her, recalling the betrayal he had faced. Tears welled in his eyes as memories of loneliness and betrayal flooded back. A year ago, during the Kyuubi attack, Ayame had died. Naruto had made his way to the Ichiraku stand, where he had been welcomed to eat anytime. He felt a sense of happiness for finally having someone he could trust. He ordered a bowl of miso ramen, and Itachi served him with a forced smile, which Naruto was oblivious to. As he slurped down the ramen, he suddenly felt dizzy, his legs giving out beneath him. He looked up at Itachi, who wore a familiar expression of disdain, and realized he had been betrayed and poisoned not to kill him, but to prevent his escape. A mob of villagers then seized him and dragged him into an alleyway, where they assaulted him. Returning to the present, Naruto stiffened slightly when Kaguya hugged him, but he soon relaxed and embraced her in return. She reassured him that he could always trust her, as no one else was trustworthy. They only had each other. Naruto pondered her words and asked about Madara. Kaguya warned him that Madara could not be trusted and insisted that he could only rely on her. He nodded in agreement. Kaguya then explained that they were in her seal and promised to share her story. She recounted her life, revealing that she had never had Tenji as her husband but had created her sons using the Rinnegan's ability to create all things. As she finished her tale, Naruto felt tears escape his eyes once more, realizing she too had been betrayed. He asked if there was a way to free her from the seal. Kaguya confirmed that there was a plan. Instead of Zetsu using the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki as a vessel to bring her back, Naruto would learn a technique from her to absorb the Ten-Tails and become the new Juubi. With his newfound powers, he would be able to free her from the seal, and he agreed to help. Kaguya explained that they would reclaim her chakra together. Curious, Naruto asked why she had chosen to trust and protect him. She replied that she had seen his struggles, understood his personality, and recognized his potential. That was also why she had chosen him to be her husband. When he became the new Juubi, they would be together forever. Naruto was taken aback. She wanted him to be her husband. Although he had secretly loved her since she saved him, he felt his face flush. He asked if she was sure about her choice, noting that she could have anyone. Kaguya blushed slightly but affirmed her desire for him. He accepted her proposal but insisted they wait until he was older. Kaguya expressed her eagerness for that day. Naruto spent several hours in the seal, but Kaguya could manipulate time, and in the seal, he experienced a week. His demeanor shifted. He became cold toward everyone except Kaguya. As he prepared to leave, he told her he would see her in a few years. Kaguya replied that she would miss him until then, and he vanished. 2 years later, Naruto had transformed his body, developing strong, lean muscles. He mastered the Uzumaki Kenjutsu style, wielding a black katana with a blood-red blade that belonged to Kushina. He also learned and perfected the taijutsu styles of his father, mother, and Madara. With the help of resistance and gravity seals, he trained his strength and speed, capable of shattering boulders with a single punch and matching the raikage speed while using his lightning armor. He also learned to use Madara's gunbai. Another 2 years passed, and Naruto quickly mastered his Sharingan and Mokuton, nearly reaching Hashirama's level. After completing these skills within a year, he attempted a summoning technique that transported him to the world of dragons, where he trained and learned numerous techniques, including Dragon Sage mode. In a flashback, he called out the summoning jutsu and found himself in a sunny field, surrounded by a beautiful landscape and a volcanic terrain. Suddenly, a massive dragon landed before him, its red scales gleaming in the sunlight. The dragon introduced itself as Varys and invited Naruto to climb onto its back to meet their boss. Naruto complied, and they traveled to a grand castle adorned with dragon symbols. Upon entering, he was awed by the intricate designs and soon arrived at what appeared to be the throne room, where a dragon as large as the Hokage monument awaited him. "Is that a human with you?" Arthrot looked at Naruto, who was on the ground after dismounting from Varys' back upon their arrival. "Hello, Arthrot." "Yes, this is a human. His name is Naruto Uzumaki," Varys replied. "Very well, no. Before you can become our summoner, you must prove yourself," Arthrot stated. "How can I prove myself?" Naruto asked. "First of all, do not call me with Sama, just Arthrot. To prove yourself, you must survive the white fire. Only worthy summoners can withstand the fire. It is over there." He pointed to the right side of the room where a circle of white flames flickered. Naruto nodded and approached the flames. Standing before them, he stepped inside. Instead of burning him, the flames felt warm and comforting. After 20 seconds, he stepped back outside, and the flames returned to their original white. "You passed the test of white flames," Arthrot announced. "Why did the flames turn green?" Naruto inquired. "Because your fire will be green fire. If you are wondering, green flames are much stronger than normal flames." "Understood," Naruto replied. "One more thing. We can teach you more techniques and also Dragon Sage mode," Arthrot added. "All right then, I have a year to train," Naruto said. "Good, then we will train you for 5 years. Time moves 5 times faster here than in the real world," Arthrot explained. "Understood. So let's start." Flashback and the abilities and perks of Dragon Sage mode include better sight, night vision, more durable skin due to tiny dragon scales, enhanced strength and speed, the ability to breathe fire, and 2 black and red dragon wings. 2 years later, Naruto discovered his chakra natures: fire, lightning, wind, earth, and water. He learned many different jutsus for each nature and even mastered Madara's favorite techniques. Madara recognized Naruto as a genjutsu prodigy, and he learned and created numerous genjutsu, with or without the Sharingan. He also studied medical ninjutsu, though not to the extent of Tsunade or Shizune. He mastered his father's techniques and incorporated chakra natures into the Rinnegan. 1 year later, Naruto wore black ANBU-style pants, black ninja boots, a blood-red long-sleeved shirt, and a black jacket adorned with a blood-red Uzumaki swirl on the back. He sported black fingerless gloves with metal plates and had hair resembling Minato's, the main difference being that his hair was blood red while Minato's was sun-kissed blonde. He stood at 5.3 feet tall. Madara had created a special Zetsu clone over the years that mimicked his appearance but was designed not to revert to its original form upon destruction. This special Zetsu attempted to choke Naruto in his sleep, but it ended with the Zetsu's defeat. Madara intended for this to provoke Naruto into awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan. What Madara did not know was that Naruto cared only for Kaguya. Unbeknownst to him, Kaguya had activated Naruto's Manjikyu while he was sealed, granting him all the abilities associated with it. She instructed Naruto not to use it until Madara wanted him to awaken it, ensuring that it appeared as though Madara's plan had worked, thus gaining his trust. Regardless, Naruto mastered all the Manjikyu abilities after having Madara's eyes implanted to gain the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. He also learned the theory behind using all of the Rinnegan abilities, as Kaguya had informed him that he would likely awaken the Rinnegan by the age of 14. Now, Naruto stood before Madara. Your training has exceeded expectations. With your current power, you will be able to succeed with the Moon Eye plan until I return, Madara stated. Yes, I will, Naruto replied in a cold tone. Now then, I will probably see you in a few years, Madara said before ripping the tubes from the Geto Mazo and collapsing to the ground. Goodbye, grandfather, Naruto thought as he removed the eyes implanted in Madara and destroyed them to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. After that, he left the cave and made his way to Konoha. Clone Naruto Uzumaki. Age 12. Height, 4.7 feet. Personality, prankster, lazy, often sleeps in class, considered the underdog. Crush, Sakura Haruno. Rival, Sasuke Uchiha. Clothes, orange jumpsuit, blue ninja sandals. Naruto Uzumaki was currently in the academy. Good morning, class. Today is graduation day. Please remain quiet during the exam. Mizuki will now hand out the written exam, the instructor announced. The real Naruto watched from the shadows as the clone failed, allowing it to happen because he knew Mizuki's plans. Time skip. In the forest, Naruto ran with the forbidden scroll while Iruka knelt, speaking to Mizuki about Naruto. Naruto hid behind a tree when suddenly the real Naruto appeared. The clone nodded to him before dispelling in a pool of energy that the real one burned away. The real Naruto accessed the information from the clone, processing it much faster than others thanks to the Sharingan. He glanced at Iruka and Mizuki, noticing that Mizuki was about to attack Iruka. He intervened. Now die, Iruka. Mizuki charged at Iruka, but suddenly a kick connected with his head, sending him flying through 3 trees and knocking him out. Naruto? Iruka exclaimed, surprised by Naruto's strength. Are you alright, Iruka? Naruto asked. Iruka was taken aback by the cold tone but brushed it off. Not quite, but I will be fine. Don't worry. Close your eyes, no. Naruto complied, and when he opened them again, he wore Iruka's headband. Thank you, Iruka, he said, still in a cold tone. They both made their way to the Hokage tower. Knock knock. They knocked on the Hokage's office door and waited for an invitation to enter. Well done, Naruto and Iruka. The ANBU have already taken Mizuki. Iruka, please go to the hospital. The team announcements will be in a week, and Naruto, please stay, Hiruzen said. Iruka left, and Hiruzen activated the privacy seals. Hiruzen's POV. He looked at Naruto, but before he could speak, Naruto vanished and reappeared at the left wall of the office, kunai embedded in something invisible. It then became visible, revealing an ANBU, but not just any ANBU. It was a root ANBU. Hiruzen exclaimed angrily, realizing that Naruto moved faster than he could see. Naruto, how did you move so fast? He asked. I ran, Naruto replied nonchalantly. Hiruzen nodded, regaining his composure. He sat back down and motioned for Naruto to sit as well. I can see that you have hidden your skills and appearance. I assume this was due to the council? Hiruzen inquired. Naruto shook his head. No, Naruto replied, his tone firm. Then how did you change so much? Hiruzen asked, curiosity evident in his eyes. I will tell you when my so-called family returns, Naruto stated. How do you know about them? Hiruzen inquired, suspicion creeping into his thoughts. My grandfather told me that they are alive and that I have 2 sisters who will return tomorrow from the capital, Naruto explained. Hiruzen nodded, deciding it was best not to press the matter further since Naruto would reveal more the next day. Okay, you are dismissed, Hiruzen said, and with that, Naruto vanished in a flash, heading back to his apartment. The next day, 4 figures approached the gates of Konoha: a tall blonde-haired man, a beautiful red-haired woman, and 2 blonde-haired girls. Hiruzen stood at the gate, waiting for their arrival, while Naruto perched atop the gate, eager to witness the reunion. As the group reached Hiruzen, he recognized Minato and Kushina in their Jonin attire, along with their daughters, who wore outfits similar to Kushina's but without the Jonin flak jacket. Naruto remained unnoticed by them. "Hello, Hiruzen. Good to see you again," Minato exclaimed. "Hello, Minato. Good to see you too," Hiruzen replied warmly. "So, something happened while we were gone?" Minato asked, his expression shifting to concern. "Yes, 3 things, one of which is about your son," Hiruzen informed him. Kushina quickly interjected, her voice filled with worry. "What happened? Is he okay? Where is he?" "Calm down, Kushina. He is all right and he's up there," Hiruzen said, pointing to the top of the gate where Naruto sat, one leg drawn up and an arm resting on it. Naruto observed them silently, not saying a word. "Ka-san wants a hug. Come down here, Naruto," Kushina called out. Naruto jumped down but did not move to embrace her. Instead, Kushina wrapped her arms around him, though he did not return the gesture. "I missed you, Naruto," she said softly. "But it was your decision to leave me," Naruto replied coldly. Kushina pulled away, looking down, her heart heavy. "You look good, Naruto. You have my hairstyle. Have you met any girls yet?" Minato asked, attempting to lighten the mood. "Yes, I did," Naruto answered. "Really? That's my son," Minato exclaimed, excitement creeping into his voice. "You have to tell me about her later." Naruto remained unresponsive, while Kushina playfully tapped Minato on the head for his question. Hiruzen then suggested, "Well, I think we should talk somewhere else. How about we go to the office?" Minato and Kushina nodded, gathering Natsumi and Mito to follow Hiruzen and Naruto to the office. Once inside, Hiruzen dismissed the ANBU and activated the privacy seals. Suddenly, Naruto produced a kunai and swiftly struck at the wall beside him, revealing another hidden root ANBU. Minato's expression shifted to anger directed at Danzo, astonished that Naruto had sensed the ANBU presence when even he could not. "Thank you for taking care of that one, Naruto. Now we can talk in private. What are the results of Natsumi and Mito's training?" Hiruzen asked. "They are both high Chunin in Taijutsu and Ninjutsu, with Chunin-level chakra control. They have mastered Kenjutsu halfway, are level 4 in Fuinjutsu, and can use 25% of Kyuubi's chakra, giving them a 3-tails chakra cloak. They are also proficient with chakra chains," Naruto reported. Hiruzen nodded, pleased. "That sounds good. Now, Naruto, how about you tell us about your skills since something has changed with you?" Naruto agreed to share some of his skills, but he wanted to keep some surprises for later. "Well, I have perfect chakra control. I mastered 3 taijutsu styles, my mother's, my father's, and my grandfather's. I also mastered the Uzumaki Kenjutsu style. I possess great speed and strength, have a wide array of ninjutsu for my 4 chakra natures: wind, fire, lightning, and water, and even created some of my own. I can use Minato's jutsus and am quite skilled with genjutsu. Lastly, I have mastered my Sharingan." Everyone was taken aback by his strength, especially the revelation of his Sharingan. After a moment of silence, Hiruzen regained his composure. "Okay, that was unexpected. But can you please tell us who your grandfather is?" "Sure, he was Madara Uchiha and Kushina's father," Naruto replied. Silence fell over the room. Kushina felt a pang of sadness that he hadn't called her cousin, but then she processed his words. "What? Madara Uchiha was my father? I thought he died fighting the first Hokage," she exclaimed. "Yes, Madara is your father, and no, he didn't die in his battle with Hashirama. Thanks to the Sharingan, he possesses many useful abilities," Naruto clarified. Kushina was stunned. Madara was her father. Minato broke the silence. "Wait, how do you know that?" "He told me," Naruto answered, What? You met him? Minato asked, astonished. Yes, and he trained me since I was 5. The Naruto here in the village was just a clone, Naruto explained. So where is he now? Minato pressed. Dead? Naruto replied simply. Okay, well, he was probably too old, Minato said, trying to process the information. Natsumi then spoke up, her curiosity piqued. Does this mean we also have the Sharingan? Naruto shook his head. No, you can't have both chakra chains and Sharingan. That's why Kushina never awakened hers. Everyone nodded in understanding. Well, let's all go home. Tomorrow we will announce our return and survival to the village. I will take back my seat if you don't mind, Hiruzen, Minato declared. I don't mind. You can have the seat back. Enjoy the paperwork, Hiruzen replied with a hint of amusement. Upon hearing that, Minato's mood dropped, and he began to sulk. Naruto, sensing an opportunity for mischief, grinned. Hey, Minato, what would you do to learn the secret to beating paperwork? Minato turned to him, desperation in his eyes. Anything. Just tell me the secret. Don't worry, I don't need anything, so I will just tell you, Naruto said, pausing dramatically. Shadow clones. Minato hugged Naruto tightly, thanking him repeatedly, while Hiruzen face-bombed, his head hitting the table. At that moment, Kakashi walked in, having missed the privacy seals being deactivated. Hello, Lord Hawk, Kakashi froze as he took in the scene. His sensei, Kushina, the 2 girls, and then he noticed Minato hugging and thanking a transformed Naruto. Hiruzen's head was still on the desk. Sensei? Kushina? Lord Hokage? Naruto? And who are they? What is going on here? Kakashi asked, bewildered. Minato and Hiruzen quickly composed themselves, and Minato explained everything to Kakashi, reactivating the privacy seals. Well, I think I got everything. I have to leave and sort all of that. Bye, Sensei, Kushina, Natsumi, Mito, and Lord Hokage. Oh, and see you, Naruto, Kakashi said, turning to Naruto, who was engrossed in a book about mythical creatures. Did you say something, Kakashi? Naruto replied, his tone cool but playful. Minato, Kushina, and Hiruzen burst into laughter, while Kakashi stood shocked that someone had used his typical line against him. Quietly, he left the room. Well done, Naruto, Hiruzen remarked, a smile forming on his face. Let's go home, and the Uzumaki Namikaze family made their way to the Uzumaki Namikaze estate. A week passed, during which the family tried to connect with Naruto, but he consistently ignored their attempts. They were eager to earn his forgiveness. Minato reclaimed his position as Hokage and announced to the village that Naruto was his son, clarifying that he was neither a demon nor the Kyuubi. However, he chose to keep Naruto's lineage as Madara's grandson and Kushina's status as Madara's daughter a secret for the time being. In the academy, Naruto sat in the back left corner of the classroom, flanked by his sisters. One by one, the other students approached the 3 siblings, but they brushed them off. The only exception was Kiba, who attempted to charm the girls. Kiba suggested they join him after class to show them how a real man treats a lady, but before he could finish, a green skeletal hand from Naruto's Susanoo sent him crashing into the wall on the opposite side of the classroom. Naruto expressed his disdain for Kiba's behavior, firmly stating that he had no tolerance for perverts. The classroom fell silent as everyone returned to their seats, waiting for Irika to arrive. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office, Minato and the Jonin senseis observed through a crystal ball. Minato noted that Naruto certainly knew how to handle perverts, while Kurenai remarked on his character. Minato pondered what would happen when Naruto met Jiraiya, and Kurenai joked about hoping Naruto would send him away with a powerful punch. When Irika entered the classroom, he immediately sensed the unusual quietness, which made him uneasy. He soon spotted Kiba slumped against the wall and requested assistance to help him back to his seat. A civilian girl helped Kiba, who was slowly regaining consciousness. Irika then expressed his pride in the students who had passed, transitioning into his usual speech about the life of a ninja. As he announced the teams, he called out Team 7, consisting of Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Naruto's sister, Natsumi, with their sensei being Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. After announcing the other teams, Irika concluded by wishing them all good luck, reminding them that their senseis would arrive shortly. An hour later, the students waited anxiously for their senseis. Kurenai called for Team 8, Asuma for Team 10, and Kushina for Team after Kushina left in a flash. Naruto placed his hands on his sister's shoulders, and they vanished in a swirl of green flames. Reappearing at training ground, Kushina informed her team that they would skip introductions since they already knew how to work together and would focus on missions instead. They headed to the Hokage Tower. A month had passed since the team announcements. Initially, Naruto was reluctant to undertake D-rank missions, but Minato explained that they needed to complete 50 before advancing to higher-ranked missions. Naruto insisted on receiving all 50 D-rank missions at once, promising to finish them the same day. Intrigued, Minato obliged. Back at the training ground, Naruto created 200 shadow clones, organizing them into groups of 4, each assigned a mission. The next day, he returned to Minato with the completed mission scrolls. Minato, impressed, upgraded their rank to C-rank. The month was spent tackling C-rank missions, such as dealing with bandits and escorting individuals. Now, Team 11 found themselves in the Hokage's office again, waiting for their next mission. Suddenly, a dog appeared in a puff of smoke, dropping a scroll on Minato's desk before vanishing. Minato picked up the scroll, read it, and addressed Team 11, informing them they would assist Team 7 in the Land of Waves. Their mission was to protect the bridge builder, Tsunade, who was currently in danger after encountering Zabuza Momochi. The team nodded in agreement, and Kushina instructed them to gather their belongings for a 2-week mission, meeting at the gate in an hour. They left the office and headed home. At the gate an hour later, Kushina called for them to begin their journey through the forest. Naruto inquired about the crime boss, Gato, who had taken over the Land of Waves. Kushina confirmed the information, explaining that Gato had hired Zabuza. Mito suggested they might be able to deal with Gato as well, but Kushina reminded them that their primary mission was to protect Tsunade. Upon arriving, Kushina announced they needed to locate Team 7 and Tsunade. Naruto sensed Kakashi's chakra signature and led the way. They reached Tsunade's house and knocked on the door. A young woman with black hair answered, inquiring how she could help. Kushina introduced herself, explaining they were Team 7's assistants from Konoha. The woman, Tsunami, confirmed her identity as Tsunade's daughter and invited them inside, leading them to the living room where they found Sakura pestering Sasuke, side drawing, and Kakashi engrossed in his book. Kakashi noticed their arrival and acknowledged them. Naruto arrived a bit late, explaining that they had gotten lost on the road of life. Kakashi was surprised to hear someone use his own excuse. Kushina scolded Kakashi for reading inappropriate books in front of children, and he apologized, pleading for her not to destroy his precious Ika. However, Kushina insisted that he would pay for it, asking Naruto to burn the book. Naruto activated his Sharingan, transforming it into his eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, and muttered a powerful technique. Kakashi's book ignited in black flames, prompting him to sob over the loss of his treasured possession until Kushina playfully hit him on the head, reminding him it was just a perverted book. She then requested a briefing on the recent events. Kakashi complied, recounting their encounter with the Demon Brothers, how Sasuke and Sai handled them, and their subsequent journey to the Land of Waves. He detailed his battle with Zabuza, during which he was caught in a water prison. Thanks to a plan devised by Sai and Sasuke, he was freed and managed to defeat Zabuza. However, before he could finish him off, a hunter ninja intervened, taking Zabuza's body and sword away. Kushina nodded in understanding, but Naruto interjected, suggesting that Zabuza might still be alive. Kakashi, intrigued, asked for clarification. Naruto explained that a precise strike to the neck could induce a death-like state, and that hunter ninjas typically took only the head of their targets, destroying the rest of the body. Kushina agreed, noting that the hunter ninja was likely Zabuza's backup. She inquired how long Zabuza would remain incapacitated, and Naruto estimated it would take about a week for him to recover, though the hunter ninja seemed knowledgeable about medical ninjutsu, potentially speeding up the process. This meant they had 5 days before Zabuza might strike again. Kakashi suggested splitting into groups, one for training, another to protect Tsunade on the bridge in case Gato sent more attackers, and the last group to stay with Tsunade's family for their safety. Kushina proposed that she and Naruto go to the bridge while leaving 10 shadow clones each to assist at home, while Kakashi would take the other kids to train. Once at the bridge, Naruto created a large number of shadow clones to help Tsunade with construction. Kushina took the opportunity to ask Naruto about the girl he had mentioned. He was initially reserved but felt happy thinking about Kaguya, the girl he had met during a visit with his grandfather. He shared her name, Kaguya Otsutsuki, knowing that it was a name lost to time. When Kushina inquired about her age, he mentioned she was 13, providing some fabricated details to avoid suspicion. Kushina asked about Kaguya's appearance, and Naruto described her as beautiful, with white hair and pale skin. He noted that while she didn't choose her appearance, he found it lovely. As they continued to talk, Naruto shared that Kaguya was caring, loving, gentle, smart, and cute. Kushina expressed her relief that her son was not interested in arrogant girls and then asked about Kaguya's whereabouts. Naruto explained that she was busy with personal matters. The conversation took a surprising turn when Naruto revealed that Kaguya was his fiancée. Kushina was taken aback, expressing concern over his age and vowing to confront his grandfather in the afterlife. She warned Naruto against becoming a pervert, and he assured her that he despised such behavior, even promising to confront Jiraiya if he ever acted inappropriately. After their discussion, they returned to Tsunade's house, where Kushina asked Kakashi about the training. He explained that Natsumi and Mito practiced their chakra chains, Sai worked on his drawing, and Sakura and Sasuke practiced tree walking. Kushina was frustrated to learn that the kids had not yet mastered tree walking, questioning Kakashi's teaching methods. She decided not to discuss it further but mentioned she would inform Minato about it. As night fell, everyone settled down to rest. Natsumi, unable to sleep in her shared room with Mito, heard someone in the hallway and peeked outside to see Naruto heading outside. She whispered to Mito, suggesting they follow him. They quickly dressed and ventured outside, searching for Naruto and attempting to sense his chakra. I found it on the roof. Mito noticed Naruto lying there, gazing at the moon with a smile. She called out to him, asking why he was up there. Naruto replied that he was looking at the moon because it reminded him of someone special. Mito inquired who that was, and Naruto mentioned his fiancée, Kaguya. Mito confirmed that Kushina had told her about her. They lay down beside him, enjoying his warmth, and soon all three fell asleep. 5 days had passed since Team 11 arrived in the Land of Waves. Everyone except Naruto was making their way to the bridge while he stayed back to protect Tsunade and Inari from any potential threats. Naruto was resting on the roof when he heard Tsunade's screams. He quickly jumped down and saw 2 thugs holding Tsunade and a 3rd thug restraining Inari. Before the first thug could finish his sentence, Naruto appeared behind them, sheathing his katana. He instructed Tsunade to return to the house, assuring her that he would leave a few clones to protect them while he went to assist the others at the bridge. Tsunade nodded, took Inari, and hurried back inside, followed by 15 clones of Naruto. In a flash of red, Naruto disappeared and reappeared at the bridge. He saw Kakashi poised to strike Zabuza but sensed a surge of civilian-level chakra signatures approaching. Realizing Gato was about to betray Zabuza and Haku, Naruto rushed to Kakashi and grabbed his arm, stopping him just in time. Haku appeared before Zabuza, ready to defend him. Kakashi, confused, turned to Naruto, who explained the situation and pointed out Gato and his gang approaching from the mist. Zabuza acknowledged Naruto's warning, and the 4 of them stood ready to confront the thugs. Gato taunted Zabuza, declaring his intent to eliminate him with the help of his hired thugs. The atmosphere shifted dramatically as Naruto unleashed a powerful killer intent that forced everyone to their knees, clearing the mist with a gust of wind. All eyes turned to Naruto, whose Sharingan was blazing with intensity. He declared that the thugs were his to deal with, prompting the 3 Jonin to step back. Naruto summoned a fireball of green flames into the sky, causing dark clouds to gather and lightning to crackle. He raised his hand and called forth a lightning dragon, which awaited his command. With a swift motion, he directed the dragon to strike down upon Gato and his men, resulting in a massive explosion that left a gaping hole in the bridge. The sheer power left everyone in awe, including Zabuza, who contemplated joining the Leaf to avoid facing Naruto's wrath. Zabuza leaned over to Kakashi and whispered his desire to join the Leaf, hoping to stay clear of such devastating power. Kakashi nodded, still in shock from the display of jutsu. Naruto turned to see Inari and several villagers approaching the bridge, only to find a section of it missing. Inari asked what had happened, and Naruto confirmed that he had dealt with Gato. The villagers erupted in cheers. Afterward, the Leaf Ninja, Tsunade, Zabuza, and Haku returned to Tsunade's house. A week passed as they repaired the bridge, which had been damaged by Naruto's jutsu. Teams 7 and 11, along with Zabuza and Haku, stood at the entrance to Wave, ready to return to Konoha. Zabuza and Haku decided to join the Leaf. Tsunade expressed his gratitude as they prepared to leave, and the villagers waved goodbye. One villager suggested naming the bridge after Naruto, and Tsunade agreed, calling it the Great Naruto Bridge. The group made their way back to Konoha. The journey was quiet, except for Haku's curiosity about Naruto, which had developed into a small crush over the week. However, her interest waned when she learned about his fiancée, though she remained intrigued by his character. After 2 days of traveling through the trees, they finally arrived back in Konoha. Kakashi and Kushina dismissed their teams and headed to the Hokage's office. Once they completed their report, Minato sighed, acknowledging Naruto's strength. Kakashi expressed his desire to learn the lightning jutsu, impressed by its power. A knock at the door interrupted them, signaling the arrival of the other Jonin. Minato informed them that they could now enter their teams in the Chunin exams, and they nodded in agreement. Later, Naruto, Natsumi, and Mito headed to their training ground. It had been a week since their return from Wave, and Kushina had called them to discuss the Chunin exams. Suddenly, Naruto stopped and turned around, addressing a peculiar rock that had been following them. It exploded in a puff of smoke, revealing Konohamaru and his friends. Konohamaru greeted Naruto and asked if he wanted to play ninja. Naruto flatly declined. Just then, Sakura approached them, but before anyone could respond, Konohamaru asked if she was Naruto's girlfriend, to which Naruto simply stated no. Never, Naruto thought with disgust. Good, she is pretty flat, Sakura mused, a dark aura surrounding her. Sorry boss, but I have to go, one of the boys said as he dashed into an alleyway, with Sakura following closely behind. A loud thud echoed, prompting Natsumi and Mito to rush over to see what had happened. Naruto decided to follow, knowing he would have to wait for them at the training ground anyway. As he entered the alleyway, he saw a boy dressed in a black cat suit and makeup holding Konohamaru. Behind him stood a blonde kunoichi with her hair styled in 4 buns and a large fan on her back. Hey brat, it seems I need to teach you some manners, the boy said. Kankuro, just let him go, the kunoichi urged. No, Temari, this brat needs to learn respect, Kankuro insisted. Hey, makeup boy, let the brat down, or you'll be in trouble with the Hokage. That's the third's grandson you're holding there, and Shikaku up there doesn't seem happy, Naruto pointed out, gesturing to a tree where a red-haired boy stood. The boy appeared next to Kankuro. But I was just... Shut up, Kankuro. You're a disgrace to the sand, Gaara interrupted, silencing Kankuro. Gaara then turned to Naruto. Hello, what is your name? My name is Naruto Uchiha, he replied, not wanting to use the Uzumaki Namikaze's name. He planned to reveal his grandfather's identity during the finals anyway. I see, Gaara said, then turned to Natsumi and Mito. You are both number 9. Suddenly, another team of 3 appeared nearby, identifiable as Kumo Shinobi by their headbands. One was a girl with red hair and dark skin, another was a boy with white hair and a lollipop in his mouth, and the last had blonde hair tied in a ponytail. Naruto spoke to the blonde-haired girl. Hello, Matatabi. Are you, and how do you know the Nibi's name? She asked. I am Naruto Uchiha, and how I know her name is for me to know and for you to find out, he said with a smirk. Then another figure appeared, a tall man with oval-shaped glasses and 7 swords on his back. Ah, and Gyuki is here too, Naruto noted. Yo, I fly like a butterfly and sting like a bee. I am the mighty killer bee, he declared. Naruto stood there, bewildered. Did he just rap? That was so bad. B, shut up, the blonde kunoichi said. Yo, Yujito, B replied cheerfully. Well, I'm off. My sisters and I have a meeting with our sensei. See you at the Chunin exams, she said before departing. With that, everyone went their separate ways, and the three siblings headed to their training ground to meet Kushina. At Training Ground 11, Kushina greeted them. Finally, where were you? We had an encounter with some foreign shinobi, Naruto replied in his usual cold tone. Nothing happened. Okay, well, I called you here today to discuss the Chunin exams. If you sign these slips here, she said, holding out 3 pieces of paper, and come to the academy at 9 o'clock in 2 days, you can participate. They took the slips, signed them, and returned them to Kushina, who then left for the Hokage's office. Naruto wandered off, not having anything specific to do, and began walking around the village. 30 minutes later, he headed toward the Forest of Death, deciding to hunt some animals. As he walked, he sensed someone following him. He knew who it was but didn't mind, she could watch if she wanted. He arrived at the forest gate and jumped over it. After 10 minutes of walking, he reached a small clearing. Suddenly, a large spider lunged at him, attempting to swallow him whole. Before it could reach him, the top half of a green skeleton appeared and grabbed the spider. A katana blade emerged from one of its arms and swung down, slicing the spider in half. Afterward, the Susanoo vanished. Naruto moved to the center of the clearing, sat down, and began meditating. An hour later, without opening his eyes, he spoke. Hey, Yujito, why are you watching me? Yujito landed in front of him. Oh, I was just watching you because you seem very interesting. Naruto opened his eyes and raised an eyebrow. How exactly am I interesting? Your attitude, your knowledge of the Biju's names, and whatever that skeleton figure was, she explained. First, I don't know what's interesting about my attitude. Second, I know the Biju's names because someone told me. And third, that was my Susanoo, an ability of the Sharingan, he clarified. Okay, well, your attitude is interesting because you're so cold. Why is that? She asked. Abandonment and betrayal, he replied. From whom? Well, at my birth, when the Nine Tails attacked, my father sealed the soul into me and 50% of its chakra into each of my sisters. But he doesn't know that he failed. What he actually did was seal 50% of the soul and chakra into me and 25% of both into each of my sisters. My parents decided to leave me as the supposed jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and took my sisters to the capital. While I was beaten and tortured here, they enjoyed life. They returned 1 week before graduation. I'm sorry for you, she said. Don't be. Why not? If they hadn't left me, I wouldn't have been taken by my grandfather. Your grandfather? Yes, and he trained me since I was 5. Who is he? Madara Uchiha. What? Your grandfather is Madara Uchiha, and he trained you? Yes, he did, and if you're wondering, no, he isn't alive anymore. Well, that explains your Sharingan. Okay, Yujito took a deep breath to calm herself. So who told you the Biju's names? Naruto thought for a moment about whether to tell her. He decided on an incomplete answer. Someone who knew their father. In Yujito's mind, the Nibi exclaimed, What? Who could have known our father that is still alive besides us? She couldn't understand. Hey, kitten, let me talk to the Kyuubi by connecting our mindscapes through a fist bump. Yeah, Nibi, I know how it works, she replied. In the outside world, Yujito sat down and offered a fist bump to Naruto. He accepted and both closed their eyes. In the shared mindscape, Yujito appeared sitting on top of the Nibi while Naruto stood nearby. Nibi then spoke. Hey, where's Kurama? He isn't sealed inside me anymore, Naruto answered calmly. Yujito joined the conversation. How are you alive then? I am in Uzumaki, and my grandfather helped, he explained. So where is he now? Mitabi asked. I'm not going to tell you yet, Naruto replied. But with that, the mindscape vanished, and both Naruto and Yujito awoke in the real world. Naruto opened his eyes just in time to see a wolf leaping toward Yujito. In a flash, he drew his sword, dashed forward, and swiftly dispatched the wolf. Yujito, who had just opened her eyes, turned around to see the wolf falling apart and Naruto standing behind it, sword in hand. She expressed her gratitude with a small smile, and he nodded in response. Turning his attention to the remaining wolves, he formed a hand seal and unleashed a large green fireball, incinerating the creatures into ashes. He then suggested to Yujito that they should leave, and they began to walk away together. Once they exited the forest, Naruto turned to Yujito and mentioned that he would see her at the exams before using the body flicker technique to return to his apartment. Yujito shrugged and continued on her way. A week later, Naruto woke up and prepared for the day. He left for the academy early, having instructed his team, his sisters, to arrive early as well to avoid the crowd. After waiting for 10 minutes, he saw Natsumi and Mito arrive. Natsumi greeted him, asking how he was doing, and Naruto replied that he was fine. Mito, filled with enthusiasm, declared that they would win the exams. They entered the building and ascended the stairs to the second floor, where Naruto immediately noticed the poorly executed genjutsu, thanks to his active Sharingan. They continued up the stairs and reached room 301, where Kushina awaited them at the door. Natsumi inquired about her presence, and Kushina explained that she was there to ensure they all arrived, as the absence of one would prevent the others from participating in the exams. They nodded in understanding and entered the room, taking seats in the back right corner. Naruto closed his eyes to meditate. An hour and 15 minutes later, a loud scream broke his concentration. It was Ino and Sakura arguing over Sasuke. Naruto watched the commotion until a teenage boy with silver hair and glasses approached their group. He recognized him as Kabuto, thanks to Zetsu's information. Kabuto began sharing details about the other genin. Sasuke demanded information about Rock Lee, Gaara of the Sand, Yujito, and Naruto Uchiha. Kabuto provided the requested details, starting with Yujito, mentioning her squad mates and sensei, as well as her completed missions. When it came to Naruto, he listed his squad mates, sensei, and the missions he had completed, highlighting Naruto's mastery in various ninja arts, including his fully matured Sharingan. Afterward, Naruto returned to his thoughts, waiting patiently. Moments later, a Jonin and several Chunin appeared in a puff of smoke. The Jonin introduced himself as Ibiki Marino, the proctor for the first part of the Chunin exams, and explained the test, which focused on information gathering. Naruto turned his paper over and decided to rest. 45 minutes later, Ibiki announced the 10th question, revealing a new rule. Participants could leave now and try again next time or stay, with the risk of remaining genin for life. Kiba protested, but Ibiki stood firm, asking who wanted to leave. After 10 minutes of deliberation, no one chose to exit. Ibiki then declared that those who stayed would pass, explaining that the question was about willingness to take risks. Suddenly, a spinning black ball crashed through the window, revealing a banner that read, "The CC and Single, Mitarashi Anko." Anko stood beneath it, and Ibiki acknowledged her early arrival. Anko remarked on the number of teams present, and she playfully suggested that she would cut the number in half. She instructed everyone to follow her to Training Ground 44, warning them to arrive within an hour or face disqualification. The students hurriedly exited the room to comply. Naruto placed his hands on his sister's shoulders and used the body flicker technique to transport them to Training Ground. Anko was slightly surprised that a genin knew the technique but remained silent as they awaited the other genin. 30 minutes later, Anko addressed the participants, introducing the second stage of the Chunin exams in the Forest of Death. She explained that each team would receive a scroll, either heaven or earth, and they needed both to pass. They were instructed not to open the scrolls until they reached the tower in the center of the forest. Anko handed out forms for the participants to sign, clarifying that Konoha would not be responsible for any deaths in the forest, and that killing was permitted during this part of the exam. After everyone signed, Anko called one member from each team to collect a scroll. Naruto's team received a heaven scroll. Once all teams were prepared, they gathered at different gates to enter the forest as soon as they opened. Anko wished them good luck, and the gates swung open, sending all the genin rushing inside. 10 minutes into their run, Naruto and his sisters encountered another team. Not wanting to waste time, Naruto swiftly eliminated them with his blade. They discovered that the team had an earth scroll. With both scrolls in hand, they set off toward the tower. After an hour of running, Naruto sensed something approaching and quickly summoned his skeletal Tsunade to protect himself and his sisters. A strong gust impacted the shield, causing Naruto to deactivate his Tsunade. A grass kunoichi entered the clearing where the team had landed, complimenting Naruto with a sly tone, acknowledging his skills. Naruto, unfazed, questioned Orochimaru's intentions, having anticipated his arrival but not the reason behind it. Orochimaru, intrigued, remarked on Naruto's unexpected prowess and expressed his desire for him. Naruto, with a hint of mockery, dismissed Orochimaru's advances, asserting that he was already committed to someone else. This provoked Orochimaru, who felt a flicker of anger at being mocked by a genin. He unleashed a portion of his bloodlust, causing the two girls nearby to tremble, while Naruto remained unaffected, standing his ground. Orochimaru escalated his intimidation, releasing the full force of his bloodlust. Yet, Naruto remained indifferent, prompting Orochimaru to acknowledge Naruto's resilience. In response, Naruto countered with his own bloodlust, which momentarily froze Orochimaru in place, leaving him startled by the intensity. Realizing he was outmatched, Orochimaru contemplated retreating to pursue Sasuke instead. However, Naruto seized the moment, charging at Orochimaru with impressive speed and landing a punch that sent him staggering back. Orochimaru retaliated with a swift kick aimed at Naruto's side, but Naruto dodged and countered with another punch. The back and forth continued, each combatant showcasing their skills. Naruto decided it was time to end the sparring match. He vanished from sight and struck Orochimaru from behind, sending him flying. Before Orochimaru could regain his footing, Naruto delivered another kick, propelling him in a different direction. This exchange continued for several minutes until Orochimaru finally hit the ground, coughing up a small amount of blood. Naruto coldly declared that he would spare Orochimaru's life for now but would take him captive instead. He performed a series of hand seals and placed his hand on Orochimaru's back, activating seals that immobilized him. Afterward, Naruto quickly inscribed a seal on an empty scroll, placed it before Orochimaru, and activated it, causing Orochimaru to vanish in a puff of smoke. Naruto rolled up the scroll and stored it in his pouch. Turning back, Naruto walked over to his sisters, instructing them to head to the tower. They followed silently, still in shock from witnessing their brother's effortless defeat of a Sannin. 2 hours later, they arrived at the tower and entered. Naruto noticed a riddle on the wall and quickly deduced that they needed to open the scrolls. They did so, and in a puff of smoke, Kushina appeared, expressing her pride in their accomplishments and instructing them to find a room for their team to stay for the next 4 days. Naruto then requested to speak with Minato about something important. Although Kushina felt a twinge of sadness that he didn't refer to them as Tu-san and Ka-san, she placed a hand on his shoulder and body flickered to the Hokage's office. Minato, surprised by their sudden appearance, welcomed them and inquired about their mission. Naruto tossed Minato the scroll, which he caught and placed on the ground to unseal. Minato, Kushina, and the hidden ANBU in the room were taken. Aback to see Orochimaru, bound by seals that restricted his movements and visibly beaten. Minato questioned how this had happened, and Naruto explained that Orochimaru had attacked him in the forest, likely seeking his Sharingan. He detailed how he had subdued Orochimaru and placed a restriction seal on him. Minato promptly summoned 4 ANBU to take Orochimaru to the interrogation department. He then dismissed Naruto, who returned to the tower. 4 days later, Minato concluded a speech about the Chunin exams serving as a substitute for war. A coughing jonin stepped forward, introducing himself as Heiate Geku, the proctor for the 3rd part of the exams. He announced that preliminaries would take place due to the number of participants. An electric board lit up, cycling through names until it displayed the first match, Sasuke Uchiha vs Yoroi Akido. The remaining participants left the field, leaving only Sasuke, Yoroi, and Heiate. After confirming both fighters were ready, Heiate signaled the start of the match. Yoroi charged at Sasuke, who quickly performed hand signs for a fire technique. Yoroi dodged the fireball but was met with a punch from Sasuke, sending him back. Undeterred, Yoroi rushed again, but Sasuke countered with a kick aimed at Yoroi's side. Yoroi blocked the kick but attempted to drain Sasuke's chakra through contact. Realizing the danger, Sasuke broke free with a punch to Yoroi's stomach and jumped back. Sasuke strategized, recognizing that he needed to incapacitate Yoroi quickly. He unleashed another fireball followed by a barrage of kunai. Yoroi avoided the fireball but was caught off guard when Sasuke appeared before him, delivering a powerful kick that sent him airborne. Sasuke followed up with a combination attack, the Lion's Barrage, culminating in a final kick that sent Yoroi crashing to the ground. As the dust settled, Sasuke stood slightly out of breath while Yoroi lay unconscious. Hayate announced Sasuke as the winner, and as medics took Yoroi away, the board flashed again, revealing the next match, Naruto Uchiha vs Kabuto Yakushi. Both fighters descended to the field, and after confirming their readiness, Hayate signaled the start of the match. Naruto, uninterested in prolonging the fight, activated his Susanoo as Kabuto charged with his chakra scalpels. With a swift motion, Naruto's skeletal hand struck Kabuto with tremendous force, sending him crashing into the wall, leaving a significant impact. Naruto deactivated his Susanoo and saw Kabuto knocked against the wall. Hayate announced the winner, a bit shocked by Naruto's strength. Minato and Kushina felt a mix of pride and sadness, realizing they hadn't been the ones to teach Naruto. Medics quickly arrived to take Kabuto away, and the board flashed through names once more. The next match was announced, Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze vs Kiba Inuzuka. As they approached the arena, Kiba decided to taunt Natsumi, suggesting she should give up because a girl couldn't defeat him. He added that if she did, he might even consider taking her on a date. Natsumi, undeterred, shot back with a fierce retort, refusing to entertain his sexist remarks. With determination, Natsumi rushed at Kiba, creating a Rinnegan in her right hand. Kiba jumped to evade the attack, but Natsumi followed suit, slamming the Rinnegan into his stomach. Kiba was sent crashing into the wall, knocked out. Natsumi remarked that he was fortunate she hadn't used her full power. Hayate announced her as the winner. The board displayed the next match, Mito Uzumaki Namikaze vs Kankuro of the Sand. Both competitors took their positions, and the match began. Mito charged at Kankuro, forming a Rinnegan. However, Kankuro revealed that the figure she hit was merely a puppet, now destroyed. He retaliated by throwing poisoned sunbon at Mito, but she skillfully dodged and closed the distance. As Kankuro threw a punch, Mito ducked under it and delivered an uppercut, sending him crashing into the wall. When the dust settled, he was knocked out, and Hayate declared Mito the winner. The remaining matches concluded as follows. Ino vs Sakura ended in a draw. Shikamaru defeated Kin, Gaara triumphed over Lee, Shino bested Dosu, Temari won against Tenten, and Neji emerged victorious over Hinata. Hayate called all the winners to gather and draw a number from a box. As each winner read out their number, the first matches of the finals were announced. Naruto Uchiha vs Neji Hyuga, Shikamaru Nara vs Temari of the Sand, Gaara of the Sand vs Sasuke Uchiha, Mito Uzumaki Namikaze vs Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze, and Zuka vs Shino Aburame. Minato informed everyone that the finals would take place in a month, urging them to prepare and learn new skills. Later, Naruto lay in a field, gazing up at the moon during the early night. He thought about being with Kaguya, feeling a deep love for her more than anything else. His peaceful thoughts were interrupted by the approach of someone nearby, which annoyed him. From the trees emerged a man with long white hair and red markings on his face, wearing a forehead protector inscribed with the kanji for oil. Naruto recognized him immediately and expressed his annoyance at the interruption. Jiraiya, the man, asked if he could meet his godson. Naruto replied that it wasn't a good time unless it was important. Jiraiya inquired about what Naruto was doing at that hour, to which Naruto simply stated he was watching the moon because it reminded him of his fiancée. Intrigued, Jiraiya asked who she was, but Naruto dismissed the question, wanting to know why Jiraiya had come. Jiraiya mentioned hearing about Naruto making it to the Chunin exam finals and expressed his desire to train him. Naruto questioned what Jiraiya could teach him, asserting that he had already defeated one of the Sannin. Jiraiya was surprised, having not been informed of this by Minato. He asked if Naruto had beaten Orochimaru, to which Naruto confirmed. He explained how Orochimaru had attacked him in the Forest of Death, and he had subdued him with a paralyzing seal before bringing him to Minato. Jiraiya nodded, proposing to teach Naruto how to summon and offer him the Toad contract. Naruto revealed that he already knew how to summon and had something more powerful. Jiraiya challenged him to summon their respective bosses to see whose was stronger. They both stepped back, performed hand seals, and called out for their summons. In a puff of smoke, Gamabunta, a giant toad, appeared with Jiraiya on his head, while a massive dragon with black and purple scales materialized before them. Gamabunta questioned why he had been summoned and why he was facing the boss of the Dragon Clan. Jiraiya explained the situation, and Gamabunta expressed his reluctance to fight. Meanwhile, Naruto greeted the dragon, Garthroth, and explained the challenge. Garthroth acknowledged Naruto's point and asked if he could leave, to which Naruto agreed. After the dragon vanished, Naruto approached Jiraiya again, asking if he needed anything else. Jiraiya was about to leave when Naruto warned him that if he ever tried anything inappropriate regarding his fiancée, he would face severe consequences. Jiraiya, sensing Naruto's serious demeanor, promised to be careful, though he couldn't help but mumble about wanting to see Naruto's girl. Naruto's killer intent made Jiraiya freeze, reminding him of the seriousness of his warning. Naruto stood with a cold expression, declaring his intent to eliminate his opponent. He activated his perfect Susan, lifted Jiraiya, and sent him soaring into the sky, delivering a powerful blow that sent him far away. Naruto thought to himself that Jiraiya would take some time to return. He then deactivated his Susanoo. The next day, Minato summoned Naruto to his office. Uncertain of the reason but with nothing pressing on his agenda, Naruto arrived, knocked, and entered after receiving permission. Inside, he found Minato, Hiruzen, and Kushina. Minato inquired about Jiraiya, who had not been seen since his visit the previous day. Naruto casually mentioned that Jiraiya was likely in a hospital in Kumo. Minato, confused, asked why. Naruto explained that Jiraiya had made inappropriate comments about his fiancée, prompting Naruto to activate his Susanoo and send him to Kumo. Kushina enthusiastically agreed with Naruto's actions, while Minato simply sighed in disbelief. Naruto then asked if he could leave, and when no one objected, he vanished in a swirl of green flames. Meanwhile, in Kumo, Jiraiya regained consciousness, feeling terrible with multiple injuries. He vowed to avoid Naruto and his fiancée in the future, realizing the consequences of his actions. As he looked around the hospital, he learned he would be there for over 2 weeks. Unexpectedly, the Raikage entered the room. Jiraiya greeted him and inquired about his location. The Raikage informed him that he was in Kumo and asked how he arrived. Jiraiya sheepishly admitted that he had been sent there due to his inappropriate behavior. The Raikage advised him to be more cautious and mentioned that he would be leaving for the Chunin exam finals soon. A week later, Naruto was gazing at the moon, hoping to dream of Kaguya. After a few hours, Itachi approached him unexpectedly. Naruto acknowledged Itachi's presence, noting that he was no longer a target since the Kyuubi had been removed from him. Itachi confirmed he was aware of the situation, having learned from Zetsu. They sat together in silence for a while, enjoying the tranquility of the night. Naruto commented on the beauty of the evening, to which Itachi agreed with a small smile. Naruto brought up the incident with the snake and how Itachi had easily defeated him, causing him to leave Akatsuki. Itachi acknowledged Naruto's own victory in the forest. Naruto then explained that he had sent Jiraiya to Kumo for making inappropriate advances toward his fiancée, using Susanoo to do so. Itachi found amusement in this revelation, recognizing Naruto's strong feelings for his fiancée. As Itachi prepared to leave, Naruto returned his gaze to the moon, promising himself that he would see Kaguya again. In the Chunin exam stadium, Naruto stood among the other finalists, surrounded by civilians, ninjas, and the daimyos. The Kagebox housed the Hokage, Kazekage, and Raikage, who expressed interest in the upcoming finals. Minato took the stage to begin the exams, delivering a speech to the audience. While Minato spoke, Naruto was lost in thought. After the speech concluded, another man introduced himself as Genma, the proctor, and instructed everyone except Naruto and Neji to leave the arena. The first match of the finals was announced: Naruto Uchiha vs Neji Hyuga. In the Kage box, A questioned Minato about Naruto's Uchiha heritage, to which Minato explained it was inherited from his grandfather. Both fighters nodded in readiness as Genma signaled the start of the match. Neji, confident in his abilities, suggested that Naruto forfeit, claiming fate had already decided the outcome. Naruto, undeterred, insisted on fighting. Neji activated his Byakugan and charged at Naruto, launching a series of strikes. However, Naruto effortlessly dodged each attack, leaving Neji astonished. Neji insisted that his fate was to win, but Naruto challenged him, questioning whether a prodigy like Neji could defeat the grandson of Madara Uchiha. This revelation shocked those who were unaware of Naruto's lineage. Neji dismissed Naruto's claim, but Naruto was unfazed and prepared to end the match. In a flash, he appeared before Neji and delivered a powerful punch to his stomach, sending him flying. Before Neji could hit the ground, Naruto followed up with a swift kick, sending him in another direction. This continued for 2 minutes until Naruto finally let Neji fall to the ground, completely defeated and unable to move. Medics rushed to the field, placing Neji on a stretcher and taking him away. Genma announced Naruto as the winner, astonished by the revelation of Naruto's heritage and the overwhelming defeat of the Hyuga prodigy. In the Kage box, A remarked on Naruto's impressive performance, acknowledging Minato's son as quite remarkable. But is it true that Madara is his grandfather? The Raikage inquired. Minato confirmed that it was true. A then asked whether Madara was Minato's father or Kushina's. Minato clarified that he was Kushina's father, but the Uzumaki and Uchiha genes did not mix well, which was why Kushina never awakened her Sharingan. A nodded in understanding and remarked that Madara was definitely at Chunin level, if not Jonin level. Minato and the Kazekage agreed. Back in the arena, Naruto approached the finalist box. Everyone stepped back from him, except for Gaara. Genma announced the next match: Temari of the Sand vs Shikamaru Nara. Both competitors made their way to the arena. Genma asked if both fighters were ready, and they nodded. He signaled the start of the match. The fight unfolded as expected. Genma declared Temari the winner by forfeit, and both she and Shikamaru returned to the finalist box. Genma then announced the next match: Gaara of the Sand vs Sasuke Uchiha. Only Gaara descended to the arena. Genma called for Sasuke to come down within 10 seconds, but there was no response. Genma looked to the Hokage, who instructed him to give Sasuke 5 more minutes before disqualifying him. Genma nodded. 5 minutes later, Genma announced that the time was up when suddenly, Sasuke and Kakashi appeared in the middle of the arena. Kakashi apologized for their tardiness, explaining that Sasuke had almost been disqualified. Kakashi encouraged Sasuke to do his best before disappearing from the arena. Genma asked if both fighters were ready. Sasuke nodded, while Gaara remained silent. With a shout, Heiei began the match. In the competitor's box, Kakashi was reading his book when Kushina approached him, warning him to put it away or risk Naruto burning it again. Kakashi quickly complied, and Kushina asked why they were late. Kakashi awkwardly explained that they had lost track of time. He then changed the subject, asking how the previous matches had gone. Asuma, who had just joined them with Kurenai, informed them that Naruto had easily defeated Neji and revealed his grandfather's identity. Kakashi expressed surprise upon learning that Naruto's grandfather was Madara Uchiha. Kushina confirmed that Madara was indeed her father, a fact she had only learned from Naruto. Suddenly, a shout drew their attention to the battlefield. Gaara was shouting about blood, and feathers began to fall across the arena. Many ninjas recognized it as a genjutsu and quickly dispelled it. An explosion erupted in the Kage box, and Naruto leaped up to see a purple barrier trapping 3 individuals inside. Minato and the Raikage confronted the Kazekage, demanding to know what was happening. The Kazekage revealed himself to be Orochimaru. Minato questioned how Orochimaru had escaped, and Orochimaru explained that his subordinates had assisted him. A protested that it was unfair for Orochimaru to have an advantage of 2 against 1. Orochimaru agreed and performed hand signs for a summoning jutsu, causing 4 coffins to rise. They opened to reveal Hashirama Senju, Tobirama Senju, the third Raikage, and Izuna Uchiha. Suddenly, a large green sword made of chakra crashed through the barrier, creating an opening. Naruto jumped through and landed beside Minato and Itachi. He declared that he would take on the two Hokage and his granduncle, while the Raikage would handle his father, and Minato would face Orochimaru. Minato attempted to object, but Naruto insisted he could and would do it. Izuna asked where they were, and Tobirama explained that they were in Konoha and had been summoned by Edo Tensei. Hashirama questioned their purpose, and Orochimaru revealed that they were there to help him defeat Minato, Naruto, and Itachi. Tobirama demanded to know who Orochimaru was, and Orochimaru introduced himself as a former student of Hiruzen, explaining the identities of the Hokage and Naruto. Izuna was astonished to learn that Naruto was his grandnephew. Orochimaru, however, interrupted their conversation, using a hand sign to immobilize them and placing kunai with special tags at the back of their heads. He commanded them to attack, and Hashirama, Tobirama, Izuna, and Naruto quickly dodged to the side. Naruto declared that it was time to fight, eliciting smiles from Izuna and Hashirama. He vanished and appeared in front of Hashirama, kicking him away. He dodged a punch from Tobirama and retaliated with a powerful punch of his own, following up with a barrage of kicks that sent Tobirama crashing to the ground. A fireball launched from Izuna's direction, and Naruto countered with a green fireball of his own. Their attacks clashed, but Naruto's overpowered Izuna's, incinerating him. Moments later, Izuna began to reform. Realizing they couldn't die, Naruto thought about sealing them instead. The ground trembled as massive tree roots erupted, attempting to ensnare him. Naruto leaped away and performed a hand sign. He unleashed a wave of green fire, incinerating the forest around them. The flames surged until they struck the barrier, creating an explosion that blew a hole in it. Naruto created 3 shadow clones that rushed toward the 3 enemies. He quickly unsealed ink and paper from a seal on his wrist and began working on sealing tags. After a minute, he completed 4 tags and performed another set of hand signs. A mist enveloped the area, obscuring Naruto, Hashirama, Tobirama, and Izuna. He then whispered the words for a wood-release technique, causing roots to wrap around the 3, immobilizing them. Naruto dashed forward and slapped the sealing tags onto their foreheads. Izuna bid farewell to Naruto as the 3 vanished into dust. Naruto turned to see the Raikage struggling to hold his father in place, contemplating how to defeat him. Naruto quickly appeared and placed a tag on the 3rd Raikage's arm, causing him to dissolve into dust as well. The 2 rushed over to where Minato and Orochimaru were engaged in battle, finding Minato kneeling on the ground, panting, while Orochimaru appeared to be nearly out of chakra, having lost his left arm. Orochimaru spotted them and quickly fled. He shouted for the barrier to drop, and as it vanished, 4 figures appeared around him. He declared that he would get Minato someday before disappearing with the others. Minato, overwhelmed by exhaustion, fell unconscious. Naruto leaped away, determined to take down every sand or sound shinobi in sight. The Raikage thought to himself that the young ninja was truly remarkable. A week after the invasion, Naruto was wandering around Konoha when an ANBU appeared before him. The ANBU informed him that the Hokage had summoned him to his office. Naruto nodded and used body flicker to reach the office. Inside, Minato, Jiraiya, Mito, Natsumi, Shikamaru, and Kushina were gathered. After knocking and receiving permission to enter, Naruto stepped inside. Minato announced that they could begin now that Naruto was present. He promoted Shikamaru to Chunin for his excellent planning during the battle, handing him a Chunin flak jacket. Shikamaru muttered about the trouble but accepted the jacket. Minato then promoted Mito and Natsumi to Chunin for their contributions during the invasion, presenting them with flak jackets as well. They thanked their father and happily accepted the jackets. Finally, Minato announced Naruto's promotion to Jonin for his impressive performance in defeating 3 Kage-level shinobi during the invasion. Naruto accepted the Jonin flak jacket silently, which saddened Minato and Kushina. Minato instructed Shikamaru to leave while the rest stayed. After Shikamaru exited, Minato informed Naruto and his sisters that they had a mission with Jiraiya. Mito inquired about the mission's details, and Minato explained that they were to search for Tsunade and bring her back to Konoha. Jiraiya would train Mito and Natsumi during this time. Naruto questioned why he was included in the mission. Minato explained that an organization called Akatsuki, composed of S-rank missing nin, was searching for jinchuriki to capture them. While Jiraiya could handle one or two, Minato wanted to ensure Mito and Natsumi were safe. He trusted Naruto to protect them, which left Naruto silent, as he felt indifferent about the potential capture of his sisters. Jiraiya announced their departure in 2 hours. Naruto walked to the gate and waited, prepared with everything he needed sealed on his body. 2 hours later, Naruto saw Jiraiya, Mito, Natsumi, and Kushina approaching. Kushina expressed her concern for their safety, and the girls assured her they would take care of themselves. Jiraiya reassured Kushina, reminding her of Naruto's capabilities in handling powerful opponents. Despite her worries, Kushina agreed to let them go, and the group set off. A few days later, they stopped in a small town. Jiraiya had wandered off with a random woman, leaving Naruto in a hotel room with Mito and Natsumi. Lost in a dream about being with Kaguya, Naruto was content until a knock at the door interrupted him. Ignoring it, he tried to return to his dream, but someone kicked the door in, waking him up and filling him with irritation. He turned to see a shark-like man standing there. Recognizing him but deeming him unimportant, Naruto swiftly appeared in front of the intruder, already dressed, and kicked him in the stomach, sending him crashing through multiple walls until he landed in a clearing. Naruto glanced to his right and saw Itachi, who nervously stated that breaking in was not his idea. Naruto rushed after Kisame, intent on confronting him. As Kisame got up, he commented on Naruto's strength but quickly realized he was without his weapon. Naruto coldly declared his intention to retaliate for the interruption of his dream about his love. Kisame, sensing the danger, asked if they could talk, but Naruto firmly refused. He activated his humanoid Susanoo and began to overpower Kisame. Itachi, Jiraiya, Mito, and Natsumi appeared, and Jiraiya questioned Itachi about helping his partner. Itachi, fearful, declined to get involved in a fight with Naruto. Jiraiya, amused, remarked on Naruto's strength, while Itachi inquired about the evolution of Naruto's Susanoo. Jiraiya explained that the last time he saw it, it was several hundred feet tall and appeared complete. Itachi, realizing the potential of a perfect Susanoo, expressed his reluctance to engage in battle. Back to Naruto, he continued to overpower Kisame, who eventually landed on the ground, barely conscious. Naruto approached him and decisively ended the confrontation, ensuring Kisame's defeat before returning to his room, hoping to resume his dream about Kaguya. Itachi vanished after taking Kisame's ring and weapon. A few days later, the group was walking through Tanzuka town, having searched for hours for Tsunade. They decided to take a break in a bar when Jiraiya suddenly spotted someone. He called out to Tsunade, who looked up, surprised to see him. The four approached her, and she asked what they wanted. Jiraiya explained that Minato wanted her back in Konoha. Tsunade inquired about the reasons, and Jiraiya listed them: the reconstruction of the hospital, training her 2 godchildren, and Minato's plans to step down in a couple of years to spend time with his family. Tsunade contemplated the opportunity to fulfill her dream of remaking the hospital, pondering why she was only asked to help train Mito and Natsumi. What about him? She pointed at Naruto. First of all, their names are Mito, Natsumi, and Naruto, Jiraiya said, indicating each one. As for why I'm only helping Natsumi and Mito, there isn't anything he needs assistance with as far as I know, he stated. So he's strong? Tsunade asked. Strong? That kid defeated Kisame Hashigaki in under 5 minutes without even trying, because he interrupted him while he was dreaming about his fiancée, Jiraiya explained. Well, I guess I will come with you guys, but I will have to think about becoming Hokage, Tsunade replied. We should go to sleep for tonight and head out tomorrow, Tsunade suggested. Jiraiya nodded in agreement. They placed money on the table and left. Tsunade and Shizune went to their room, while Jiraiya and the others rented one for themselves. A week later, at the gates stood the eternal gate guards, Kotetsu and Izumo. Why is gate guard duty always so boring? Izumo complained. Come on. I'm sure something exciting is going to happen today, Kotetsu replied. Hey, there's someone coming, Kotetsu said, noticing a group approaching. As they got closer, their identities became clear. That's Lady Tsunade, Lord Jiraiya, the Hokage's children, and Naruto Uchiha. Izumo exclaimed. Minato had informed the village about Naruto's victory over Hashirama, Tobirama, and Izuna, all on his own. I see the village hasn't changed much, Tsunade commented to Jiraiya. Well, you kids are dismissed. Tsunadeheim and I will head to the office, Jiraiya said. Yes, goodbye Ero-sanin, the twins replied. Naruto simply vanished from sight. 2 hours later, Naruto was called by Minato, this time to the council chamber. He arrived and knocked. After being granted access, he opened the door and walked in. The civilian council regarded him with greedy eyes, while the shinobi side looked at him with respect. Fighting 3 Kage-level shinobi was impossible for most people. Naruto stood beside Minato. So why have I been called here? Naruto asked. We wanted to know how you managed to defeat Kisame Hoshigaki, Minato said. I'm pretty sure Jiraiya told you that already, Naruto retorted. Yes, but never mind, Minato replied. Is there anything else, or can I go? Naruto asked. Danzo then spoke up. Not yet. You are also going to be a part of the Clan Restoration Act, he said, inwardly smirking. No. I am already taken and I won't betray her. Besides, I won't have a harem, Naruto said, growing angry at the suggestion of cheating on Kaguya. Boy, we are the council of this village, and this is village law, Koharu stated. Well, I don't care. If you don't leave me alone about this, I could simply leave the village, Naruto replied. You can't leave the village, Koharu exclaimed. And who could stop me if I wanted to? Naruto asked, appearing bored. The Hokage and the ANBU, Koharu answered. Oh, so I defeated 3 Kage-level shinobi with ease, and now 1 and a few ANBU can stop me from leaving Konoha? Naruto challenged. Silence followed. Well, I will be going then, Naruto stated before leaving. Naruto was sitting in a field, contemplating when to leave the village. The Rinnegan would activate when he turned 14. He knew the abilities but would still need to train them. He couldn't do that inside the village. He had also grown tired of the annoying people around him. He would capture the Bijou himself if the Akatsuki took too long. He wanted to free Kaguya and didn't want to wait. I could just leave now, but I could only train my other skills until I have the Rinnegan, Naruto thought. I could create some new and powerful techniques. He pondered a few techniques for a while. What do you want, Danzo? Naruto asked, seemingly to no one. Then Danzo emerged from behind a tree. Oh, I'm just here to ask you something, Danzo said. I won't join Root, Naruto replied. How do you know? Danzo asked. You mean besides them running around the village, following me, and having a giant underground base beneath the village? Naruto countered. Are you a danger to Konoha? Danzo inquired. Everyone is a threat to Konoha, Naruto stated. Explain, Danzo pressed. No, Naruto replied and vanished in a swirl of green flames. If he is a threat, then I will take care of him, but he is really strong and doesn't have anyone he cares about, besides his fiancée. But I don't know who that is or could be, Danzo thought. At night, Naruto wandered around the village, feeling bored. Then he noticed something interesting. Sasuke was sitting in a tree with 4 bodyguards of Orochimaru in front of him. He jumped onto a nearby house, observing with a stoic expression. Lord Orochimaru wants to train you and can give you the power to kill your brother. We will bring you to him. So do you want to come? One of the 4 asked. Yes. I need more power, Sasuke answered. They quickly turned around and looked at him. Well then, let's go, said the tall one. The 5 departed. This could be interesting. I think I will leave when they send me after them, Naruto thought and vanished into thin air. In the Hokage's office, Naruto knocked and entered without waiting for a response. Hey Minato, your precious Uchiha just left the village, Naruto said in an uninterested tone. Minato, who had been speaking with Jiraiya before Naruto walked in, jumped up. What? Why didn't you stop him? Minato asked. Why should I? Naruto replied. Because it was your job as a Konoha shinobi. Minato shouted. Still, I don't care, Naruto said coldly. Okay, we should focus on getting him back right now, Jiraiya suggested. Right? Minato agreed, sitting back down. Boo! Minato called out, and an Anbu appeared, kneeling before him. Call Shikamaru Nara, Kiba Inuzuka, Neji Hyuga, Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze, and Choji Akimichi here, Minato commanded. Yes, the Anbu replied and vanished. 15 minutes later, a knock at the door signaled the arrival of the 5 individuals Minato had requested. I have called you 5 here for a mission. Your mission is to bring Sasuke Uchiha back. He just left the village and is heading toward the Sound Country. Bring him back alive, Minato instructed. Yes, Hokage-sama Dad, the 5 responded. Shikamaru will lead this mission. Go! Minato commanded. The 5 left the office. I will leave then, Naruto said. Minato realized he had completely forgotten about Naruto in the room. Wait, you will go as their backup? Minato said. Fine, Naruto replied and exited the office. 15 minutes later, Naruto was making his way after the group to retrieve Sasuke at a pace that felt slow to him. He wasn't worried about the mission, it simply didn't matter to him. Moments later, he arrived at the Valley of the End and spotted Sasuke standing on Madara's statue and Natsumi on Hashirama's. He positioned himself at a vantage point to observe and waited. In the midst of the battle, which featured Natsumi instead of Naruto, he thought to himself that it was a dull fight. Sasuke glanced around and noticed Naruto on a nearby cliff. He initially believed he would be captured, but then Naruto walked away, not heading toward the village. Sasuke reasoned that since Naruto was also an Uchiha, he would let him go, but Naruto simply didn't care. Sasuke then set off in the direction of Orochimaru. 5 minutes later, Kakashi appeared on the cliff beside Hashirama's statue. He jumped down to Natsumi and noticed the injuries caused by Chidori, mentally reprimanding himself for teaching it to Sasuke. Kakashi searched for any sign of Naruto but found nothing, so he turned his attention back to Natsumi. He checked her pulse and felt relieved that she was still alive, but her life was in danger. He quickly picked her up and dashed toward the hidden leaf. Meanwhile, Naruto felt liberated, finally out of the village. He decided to return to Madara's hideout, where he would train until he mastered the Rinnegan. In a flash of red light, he disappeared. At the hideout, Naruto laid a scroll he had brought onto a table he had created with Mokutan. Black Zetsu emerged from the ground. Hello, father, Black Zetsu greeted. Hello, son. I will be here until I turn 14, at which point I will master the Rinnegan and begin my own endeavors. Until then, keep me updated on everything happening in the outside world, Naruto instructed. Yes, I will do that for you, father, Black Zetsu replied. Good, Naruto said, and then he began his training. In Konoha, at the Hokage's office, Minato summarized what Kakashi had told him. So, Sasuke is gone, and so is Naruto, he stated. Yes, Kakashi confirmed. Alright, I will need to hold a council meeting, Minato decided. An Anbu appeared before him, kneeling. Hokage-sama, the council has called for a meeting and is gathered in the council chamber, the Anbu reported. Great, Minato replied, his tone laced with sarcasm. In the council chamber, Minato entered and took his seat. Hokage-sama, we want to know what happened with the mission to retrieve Uchiha-sama, a pink-haired council member inquired. Did I tell you to speak or even start this meeting? Minato responded, releasing a hint of his killer intent toward her. I am sorry, Hokage-sama, she quickly apologized. Now, what happened is... Minato began explaining. When he finished, Shikaku spoke up. So the mission failed, and we lost not only one of the last Uchiha but also our strongest shinobi. No offense, Hokage-sama, the Nara clan had remarked. None taken. You're right. We lost 2 important shinobi, Minato sighed. We have to get them back. Koharu exclaimed. And how do you propose we do that? Minato asked, sighing again. First, we need to locate them. I will inform Jiraiya-sensei. He can use his spy network to search for them. At least we know Sasuke is with Orochimaru, but I doubt anyone knows where Naruto could be. I have already sent word to my spies, Jiraiya added. All right, This meeting is adjourned, Minato declared, standing up and returning to his office. Once there, he sat in his chair and sighed. Jiraiya then entered the office. I will take Natsumi and Mito on a 2.5-year training trip, Jiraiya announced. Alright. You will leave in a week, Minato agreed. Jiraiya nodded and jumped out of the window to inform Natsumi and Mito. Naruto lay in his room at the hideout, aware that it was his 14th birthday and that the Rinnegan would awaken any moment now. He remained there for 4 hours, and as noon approached, he felt a surge of power building in his eyes, causing him pain. After a brief moment, the sensation subsided, and he opened his eyes, finding himself in a space-like realm. He stood up and looked around, seeing the same scenery in every direction. Suddenly, he heard a voice behind him. Hello, Naruto Uchiha, the voice said. Turning around, Naruto saw an old man floating with 9 truth-seeking ball beneath him, holding a black staff and possessing the Rinnegan. Naruto recognized him immediately. Hello, Hagoromo. What do you want? Naruto asked. I am here to tell you that the path you are on is wrong. It will lead to the end of humanity. My mother has corrupted your mind, Hagoromo warned. No. Your path was wrong. You know what humans did with chakra and your precious ninchu. They turned it into weapons to fight and kill. Kaguya has done nothing but love me, Naruto countered. So instead of guiding humans to use chakra for good, you plan to take it from them and eliminate them in the process? Hagoromo questioned. Yes, we will take chakra away from humans. They aren't meant to have it. Humanity will not end. If you had been paying attention, you would have noticed that Kaguya created the Zetsu to fight off the other Otsutsukis, Naruto explained. Killing humans isn't the right way. If they learn to live in peace, they can use chakra to defeat the Otsutsukis that are coming, Hagoromo argued. First, humans can't have peace because it's not in their nature. Second, do you really think they can defeat the Otsutsukis? Naruto challenged. I believe that if humans work together, they can win, Hagoromo replied. Well, just look at how well that works. You can't even trust people in your own village, Naruto pointed out. My mother's path is wrong, Hagoromo insisted. And I say it's right. So who is correct? It's your opinion against mine, and it's my decision. The only people you can still influence are the reincarnations of your sons, and they are too weak for me and Kaguya. Even I alone can defeat them, and I haven't even mastered the Rinnegan yet, Naruto declared. Why won't you see reason? Hagoromo asked. And what real reason do you have, besides your own opinion? Naruto retorted. Humans have had enough time to create peace, and they failed. They care more about power than peace and love. They don't deserve chakra. My son's reincarnations will stop you and my mother, Hagoromo stated. So your son's reincarnations are stronger than you and your brother combined? Did you know Kaguya held back against you too because you were her sons? Naruto said. Hagoromo fell silent. Do what you want, but I am leaving now, Naruto concluded. Goodbye, Hagoromo, Naruto thought as he vanished from the scene. Naruto's room. When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself back in his room. He sat up in bed and then stood up fully. Glancing into the mirror, he noticed the Rinnegan glowing in his eyes. Now, the real training could begin, he mused, heading toward the training room. Upon arrival, he spotted Black Zetsu standing at the entrance. Black Zetsu greeted him, acknowledging the awakening of the Rinnegan. Naruto confirmed this, mentioning that Hagoromo had spoken to him, expressing his annoyance at Hagoromo's belief in humanity. Black Zetsu agreed, noting his father's naivety. Naruto inquired about any updates, to which Black Zetsu informed him that Natsumi and Mito had gone on a training trip with Jiraiya. Naruto expected as much and decided to focus on his training, instructing Black Zetsu to keep an eye out for anything interesting. Black Zetsu complied and sank back into the ground. To Jiraiya, Mito, and Natsumi. Natsumi asked Jiraiya where Naruto was, expressing concern over his absence. Jiraiya admitted he didn't know, suggesting that Naruto might have found a well-hidden hideout. Mito worried that their actions might have driven him away, prompting Jiraiya to acknowledge that it could be part of the reason. Determined, Natsumi declared that they would train hard to bring him back, with Mito enthusiastically agreeing. Chapter end. The leader of the rebels, Mei Terumi, stood opposite Yagura's army of 2,000 men. Yagura, the current Mizukage, sought to eliminate all bloodline wielders. One of Yagura's commanders shouted for the rebels to surrender, but Mei resolutely declared that Yagura would fall. The commander ordered an attack, and as Yagura's men prepared to charge, a swirling vortex opened in the middle of the battlefield. From the vortex emerged a tall man with shoulder-length black hair, dressed in black ninja boots, ANBU-style pants, a blood-red long-sleeved shirt, and a black jacket. The pattern of the three-tomo Sharingan adorned his eyes. He surveyed the scene before striding toward Mei, who, along with her rebels, took a defensive stance. The man stopped a short distance away and introduced himself as Naruto Uchiha, offering his assistance. Mei was taken aback, recognizing Naruto from the bingo book as an SS-rank shinobi. She questioned how she could trust him, to which Naruto pointed out Yagura's men, confirming their identity. He assured her that he would handle the situation and began walking toward the enemy army. Mei stood frozen, unsure of what to expect. Naruto quickened his pace, soon breaking into a run as the enemy army charged at him. In a display of skill, he engaged in combat, swiftly taking down many foes. After a brief but intense battle, only 1,500 enemies remained. Naruto leaped back and performed a series of hand signs, unleashing a torrent of green fire that engulfed a portion of the enemy forces. He followed up with another technique, summoning a thunderstorm that rained down lightning upon the remaining foes. As Yagura's men attempted to counter with their own jutsus, Naruto deftly dodged their attacks and countered with a whirlwind of fire that neutralized their efforts. The battlefield was now filled with dark clouds, and Naruto prepared for his final strike. With a few more hand signs, he summoned a ball of electricity that surged into the clouds, creating a lightning dragon that roared before descending upon Yagura's army. When the dust settled, only 400 shinobi remained. As panic spread among the survivors, one shouted for a retreat, but Naruto activated his humanoid Susanoo, wielding 4 swords and decisively finishing the remaining foes. Once the battle was over, he deactivated his Susanoo and walked back to Mei and the rebels, who stared in shock at his effortless victory over 2,000 shinobi. Convinced of his strength, Mei thanked him for his help and invited him to join their cause. Time skip. 1 week. In the week that followed, Mei attempted to win Naruto's favor, but he remained focused on the battle ahead. Despite her efforts, including walking into his tent in a revealing manner, Naruto maintained his composure, choosing to engage her in conversation without acknowledging her attempts. Now, Naruto was summoned to Mei's tent, which featured a blue design. He waited for her arrival, and when she emerged from her shower, she greeted him in a sultry tone. However, Naruto remained unfazed, simply noting that her towel had fallen. Mei, frustrated by his lack of reaction, asked if he had no interest in her advances. Naruto replied that he was focused on their mission, leaving Mei to ponder her next move. But Naruto was determined to succeed. 1 week later, he found himself in his tent, contemplating his next move. He considered whether to storm into Kirigakure and seize the 3 tails directly. Instead, he decided it would be wiser to lure them out. With that thought in mind, he stood up from his bed and exited the tent. As he made his way out of the base, he encountered Mei. She greeted him with a warm smile and a confident sway of her hips. She inquired about his plans, expressing concern for his safety. Naruto informed her that he intended to draw Yagura out by creating a distraction in Kirigakure. Mei offered to summon their shinobi for assistance, but Naruto declined, insisting he could handle Yagura and his army alone. She asked if he minded her watching, to which he warned her that getting too close could be dangerous due to the power and range of his attacks. Despite his warning, Mei was intrigued, thinking to herself that she would eventually win him over. 20 minutes later, Naruto stood atop a small mountain, surveying Kirigakure. He activated his humanoid Susanoo and created a ring of 3 chakra discs, launching them towards the Mizukage Tower. Upon impact, a massive explosion erupted, demolishing much of the structure. He then positioned himself in an open field in front of the village, anticipating Yagura and his forces would come to investigate. 2 hours later, while meditating in the field, Naruto sensed a large group of chakra signatures. He opened his eyes and stood up to see Yagura and 8,000 shinobi approaching. Yagura demanded to know who Naruto was and what he was doing there. Naruto introduced himself as Naruto Uchiha, declaring his intention to capture the three tails. Yagura commanded his men to attack. Naruto, determined not to play around this time, performed a series of hand signs and unleashed his wood-style technique, ensnaring the entire army in a forest, except for Yagura, who managed to escape. He then summoned 49 clones of himself, and together they activated their humanoid Susanoo, launching a fierce assault on the enemy shinobi. After 10 minutes, the battle concluded, leaving only Yagura standing. Naruto summoned the Gateau statue, which roared ominously behind him. Yagura transformed into the three tails, a decision that proved fatal. Ghostly chains emerged from the statue's mouth, ensnaring the three tails and pulling it back, leaving Yagura defeated on the ground. Naruto dispelled the Gateau statue, sealing Yagura's body in a scroll and returning to the rebel base. 20 minutes later, he entered the main tent where Mei and her advisors were gathered. He tossed the scroll to Mei, who opened it to reveal Yagura's lifeless form, shocking everyone present. The war was over. Mei congratulated Naruto with a smile, and he nodded before retreating to his tent. One of the advisors asked if the war was truly over, to which Mei confirmed. The rebels erupted in celebration, throwing a party, while Naruto lay on his bed, missing Kaguya and feeling relieved that he would see her again soon. Mei entered his tent, curious about his future plans now that the war was won. Naruto informed her that he would not be staying, as he had a goal to complete. When she asked what that goal was, he simply stated he needed to free his fiancée, leaving her feeling disheartened. She inquired when he would leave, and he replied it would be the next day. Mei wished him good night and exited the tent. The next day, Naruto walked along a road, waiting for Black Zetsu to inform Obito of his presence. After leaving Kirigakure a few hours earlier, he had instructed Black Zetsu to summon Obito to meet him. He settled in a clearing, still waiting when he sensed someone approaching from behind. Obito arrived, acknowledging the truth of Naruto's claims about being Madara's grandson and his training under him. He suggested that Naruto join the Akatsuki, but Naruto firmly rejected the idea, asserting his desire to operate independently. Obito noted that the Gateau statue had already opened its third and ninth eyes, assuming Madara had extracted the Kyuubi early and that Naruto had sealed the three tails recently. Naruto confirmed this, explaining that he had summoned the Gateau statue to accomplish the task. Obito realized Naruto possessed the Rinnegan, and they discussed the Akatsuki's impending movements. Naruto agreed to wait for any complications that might arise. After their conversation, Obito took his leave, vanishing with his Kamui. 5 days later, Minato reviewed the updated bingo book entry for Naruto, noting his accomplishments in Kirigakure. The entry read, Name, Naruto Uchiha, age, 15, height, 6 feet, eyes, black, hair, shoulder length, black, SEC, male, hidden village, former hidden leaf shinobi, rank, SS, taijutsu, Haikage, Fuinjutsu, master, ninjutsu, Haikage, kenjutsu, unknown, genjutsu, unknown, bloodline, Mokan, Sharingan, nicknames, hero of Kiri, Sharingan no Akuma. Minato sighed, reflecting on Naruto's remarkable feats. He knew it was his and Kushina's fault that Naruto had turned out this way. Minato remained the Hokage, determined not to step down until he brought Naruto back. Suddenly, a Chunin burst through the door, delivering an urgent message from Suna. Minato's eyes widened as he processed the information. He called for an Anbu, who quickly appeared and knelt before him. Minato commanded the Anbu to summon Sakura Haruno, Kakashi Hatake, Natsumi, and Mito Uzumaki Namikaze. The Anbu acknowledged the order and vanished in a flash. Minato sighed and waited for the four to arrive. 5 minutes later, the door opened, and Natsumi, Mito, Sakura, and Kakashi entered. Kakashi greeted Minato, who handed him the bingo book and instructed him to read page as Kakashi opened the book and read, his eyes widened in disbelief. The others looked on with curiosity as he questioned why Naruto was referred to as the hero of Kiri. Minato explained that Naruto had ended the civil war in Kiri, effortlessly defeating 2 armies totaling 10,000 shinobi and the Three Tails. Kakashi was astonished, unable to comprehend the magnitude of Naruto's actions. Minato then shifted the focus to their mission. The Kazekage, Gaara, had been captured by the Akatsuki, who sought his tailed beast. Their task was to travel to the Sand Village, heal Kankuro from poisoning and rescue Gaara. Kakashi accepted the responsibility of mission leader, and they quickly gathered their supplies before departing for Suna. An hour later, Kakashi confirmed that everyone was ready, and they set off. 3 days later, they arrived at the Sand Village, where Sakura successfully removed the poison from Kankuro. As they prepared to confront the Akatsuki, an elderly woman approached them, claiming to know Sasori well and offering her assistance. She introduced herself as Lady Chiyo. Kakashi rallied the group, and they set off into the forest. As they jumped through the trees, Natsumi moved closer to Kakashi, expressing her unease about feeling watched. Kakashi admitted he sensed something too, suspecting it could be Naruto or another powerful individual hiding nearby. After some time, they arrived at a boulder blocking an entrance, which bore a seal. Chiyo explained that they needed to remove 4 other seals in the area simultaneously. Kakashi coordinated with Team Guy, who quickly took their positions. When they were ready, Kakashi initiated the plan, and as the seals were removed, Sakura unleashed her chakra, causing the boulder to explode. They rushed inside, discovering Gaara's body on the ground alongside the fallen Akatsuki members. As they knelt beside the bodies, Kakashi pondered who had defeated them. When he reached to touch Deidara's body, it suddenly ignited with black flames, forcing him to pull back. A voice then revealed itself, and they turned to see Naruto standing atop a giant statue. Mito called out to her brother, asking why he had left. Naruto stated he had a goal, but when pressed for details, he dismissed their concerns. Kakashi inquired about his stance against the Akatsuki, to which Naruto gave a vague response. Mito pleaded for him to come home, but Naruto declined and vanished into a cloud of darkness. Natsumi expressed her sadness at his departure, but Mito tried to reassure her that Naruto had a purpose and might return. Meanwhile, Kakashi noticed a scroll in Sasori's hand, retrieved it, and added it to his pouch. Sakura lamented their failure to complete the mission, but Chiyo declared her intention to save Gaara. Without hesitation, she performed a jutsu, collapsing lifelessly. Miraculously, Gaara awakened, confused and demanding to know what had happened. After explaining the situation, they made their way back to Suna. Time passed, and Team Kakashi stood in the Hokage's office, having just completed their mission report. Kakashi handed Minato the scroll he had found, which contained information about a spy from Sasori's ranks who would meet him in 2 weeks at Tenchi Bridge. Minato ordered a team to prepare for the mission, and they left the office. Meanwhile, the Five Kage gathered around a table for a summit called by the Raikage to discuss the threat posed by the Akatsuki. He expressed concern over his brother's capture, noting that only the Kyuubi jinchuriki remained. Minato acknowledged the uncertainty surrounding the Akatsuki's intentions. Suddenly, a swirling vortex appeared, and an orange-masked man emerged. He demanded to know who he was, but upon seeing the Akatsuki cloak, he charged at the man, only to pass right through him. The man introduced himself as Madara Uchiha, declaring his intent to acquire the jinchuriki. Minato firmly refused, stating they only had 2 left. "You took my brother," he said, expressing his frustration. Sadly, the capture failed, Obito replied. The Raikage cursed under his breath, calling his ally an idiot. Gaara inquired about Obito's plans. "Oh, my plan," Obito began, preparing to explain the threat of the Juubi and the infinite Tsukuyomi. "You are mad," Mei stated, disbelief evident in her voice. "Very well then, if you don't want to give them up, I declare war on the 5 great nations," Obito announced. "And with what force?" Minato asked, skepticism in his tone. "With my army and a certain individual that some of you have already encountered," Obito replied. At that moment, a new figure emerged from a swirling vortex beside him. As the figure stepped out, those who recognized him were taken aback. "Hello, Kages," the person greeted them. "Naruto," Minato said, recognizing his son. Yes, Naruto confirmed. Oh, hello, Naruto-kun, Mei said, but Naruto chose to ignore her. Why would you join him? He is after you and your sisters, Minato shouted, concern for his son evident. I am no jinchuriki, and I don't care about Natsumi or Mito. I only care about my goal, Naruto stated firmly. And what about your fiancée? What would she think? Minato pressed, hoping to sway Naruto to their side. Don't worry about that. Knows about this and agrees, Naruto assured him. Anyways, let's go. Remember, Kages, we will attack in 1 month, Obito said, and both he and Naruto were pulled back into the vortex. I propose a shinobi alliance, Minato suggested. I agree. I have seen how strong Naruto is on his own, Mei added. I agree too, Gaara chimed in. Midas. Well, I guess I have no choice. I agree too, Onoki conceded. Then it is decided. The 5 great nations are now the allied shinobi forces against the Akatsuki, Mifune declared. Who will lead us? Gaara asked. I propose Minato. He is smart, and I respect him as a shinobi, I suggested. Agreed, Gaara and Mei both affirmed. Fine, Onoki said reluctantly. We have to protect the last jinchuriki. Any ideas? Minato asked. I have an idea. There is a secret island that only a few people know about. We could hide and train the jinchuriki there, one of the Kages proposed. All right then. Go back to your villages and prepare for war, Minato instructed. Back in the Hidden Leaf village, Minato had just returned home. He rushed inside, eager to share the news with his family. Kushina, Mito, Natsumi, come here, he called out. Kushina emerged from the kitchen, while Natsumi and Mito came from their rooms. They gathered in the living room as Minato recounted the events. Kushina's eyes filled with tears. It's our fault, Minato. We left him. If we hadn't, he would have never been taken by Madara and turned out like this. We were foolish parents, she lamented, her voice breaking. Come on, Kushina. It was a mistake that can happen, Minato tried to console her, but his words only made things worse. That wasn't a simple mistake. It shouldn't have happened. I am an Uzumaki, we value family more than anything, and you know that. But you still convinced me to leave our son as a baby, she shouted before running out of the house. Minato attempted to follow her but lost her in the village. After an hour of searching, he returned home, feeling defeated. He sat on the sofa, sighing deeply. If she wants to cry about it, then I'll let her. But I am going to prepare for war, he resolved. He left the house and headed to the office to begin organizing troops, food, water, money, weapons, and materials. Meanwhile, in the other villages, the Kages were also preparing for war. They all shared the same thought. We have to win this war, or we all lose. However, one had additional thoughts. I wonder if I could somehow get Naruto for myself. If we win and subdue him, then I could. Mei Terumi, the 5th Mizukage, pondered. The Raikage, on the other hand, had retrieved his brother and scolded him for taking advantage of such a situation. It was early morning in the Hidden Leaf village, and the entire village was buzzing with activity. The Hokage had called everyone to the Hokage Tower for an important announcement. As the villagers gathered, they speculated about the reason for the sudden summons. When Minato arrived at the tower, the crowd fell silent and cheers erupted for their leader. After a moment, he raised his hand, calming the crowd. People of Konoha, I am happy to see you all in such good spirits, and I thank you for arriving so quickly, even on short notice. Sadly, I bring troubling news, he began, pausing to gather his thoughts. As some of you may have heard, there was a meeting of the 5 Kages a few days ago. The purpose of that meeting was to discuss the threat posed by the Akatsuki, a criminal organization made up of S-rank missing nin, he continued. The crowd gasped, fear spreading among them. Minato raised his hand again to quiet them. Thankfully, most of those ninjas have already been defeated, and only 3 remain, he reassured them, though he was unaware that Zetsu and Konin had left the Akatsuki. This brought a sense of relief to the villagers of Konoha, but Minato was not finished. Sadly, the goal of the Akatsuki is nearly complete. They seek to capture the jinchuriki and their tailed beasts. Their intention was revealed to us at the Kage meeting. They wished to seal the 9 beasts into an ancient statue to combine and become their original form, the 10 tails. Another wave of fear swept through the crowd. The last remaining bijou we have are the 8 and 9 tails. During the meeting, the leader of the Akatsuki, Madara Uchiha, appeared and revealed his intentions of starting a war with all 5 nations. He concluded, leaving the villagers in stunned silence. What they were facing was an army of 100,000, and the composition of that army remained a mystery. Among the most dangerous enemies were the leader of the Akatsuki, Madara Uchiha, and Minato's own son, whom he had regrettably neglected, Naruto Uchiha. The crowd erupted in an uproar, filled with shouts of fear and accusations directed at Naruto. They called him a demon and a traitor, blaming him for the impending conflict. Minato winced at the harsh words aimed at his son. He recognized that leaving Naruto alone in the village had been a grave mistake, and he felt a deep disappointment that the village had treated him as if he were an evil being meant to be destroyed. He managed to silence the crowd once more and spoke with conviction. He acknowledged their concerns and fears about the upcoming war, assuring them that he would do everything in his power to protect the village and its people from harm. He warned them that this would not be an easy war and might be the most challenging of all 4 great wars, but he believed that as long as the will of fire burned within them, the leaf would emerge victorious. The crowd cheered in support of their Hokage's declaration. Minato smiled at the villagers, waved goodbye, and then turned away, his expression shifting to one of seriousness as he vanished in a flashback to his office. In the Hokage's office, Minato faced many of the village's most important shinobi, the clan heads, Ibiki Marino, Tsunade, Kushina, Kakashi, Guy, and the Konoha 12. He informed them that they were at war with the Akatsuki and had called them together to discuss plans and preparations. He encouraged them to ask any questions they had to clarify the situation. Natsumi asked why her brother was with the Akatsuki, to which Minato explained that Madara was his grandfather and had raised him. Mito then inquired if that meant they were also Uchiha and had the Sharingan. Minato clarified that while Madara was indeed their grandfather, they had not inherited any Uchiha genes like Naruto, and thus did not possess the Sharingan. Mito looked disappointed at this revelation. Engrossed in his book, asked how strong Naruto was. Minato shot him a disapproving look, prompting Kakashi to quickly hide the book. Minato admitted that Naruto was likely stronger than any of the 5 Kages, which drew skeptical glances from the others. Kiba voiced his doubts, pointing out that Naruto was their age. Minato acknowledged this but reminded them of Naruto's impressive feats, including defeating 3 Kage-level shinobi at the age of 12 and taking down multiple thousand Kiri shinobi, including the 4th Mizukage, who was a perfect jinchuriki. Ibiki inquired about the composition of the enemy army, but Minato regrettably informed them that no information was available, though it was unlikely to be made up of shinobi. Guy asked if Naruto had any known weaknesses, and before Minato could respond, Kushina interjected, stating that Naruto had not mentioned Fuinjutsu, and since Madara was not known for sealing techniques, they could consider that a potential weakness. Minato was surprised he hadn't thought of that, as he usually prided himself on his intelligence. He agreed that this could be their only way to defeat Naruto, suggesting they prepare a wide area seal to lure him in, possibly using Kushina's chains as well. The group continued discussing strategies late into the evening before Minato dismissed them, stating that he and his best advisors would attend another meeting of the Kages to discuss war plans. In the Land of Fire, Naruto sat at the edge of a cliff overlooking a vast forest when Obito approached him. Obito expressed surprise at learning about Naruto's ally in the war, mentioning that Minato had referred to a fiancé. Naruto smiled slightly at the moonlit sky and confirmed that she would indeed join the war, but at a later time. When Obito pressed for her identity, Naruto simply stated that she was powerful, even more so than he was, but he would not reveal her name. Meanwhile, all the Kages and their advisors gathered in a building in the Land of Lightning, designated as the headquarters for the Shinobi Alliance. Gaara had been chosen as the leader of the alliance, as the other Kages had too many conflicts among themselves, with Mei remaining neutral. The 5 Kages convened around a large table, accompanied by their best strategists and advisors. Gaara opened the meeting, emphasizing the urgency of war planning. The discussion centered on how to utilize their combined forces effectively and identify the most strategic locations for battle. However, they faced challenges due to their lack of knowledge about Zetsu and the nature of the Akatsuki's army, leading to incomplete plans. Eventually, the conversation shifted to their most formidable adversaries, Madara and Naruto Uchiha. Gaara asked how they should address these threats. Onoki spoke first, stating that Madara would likely pose the greatest danger, as he had only ever been defeated by the first Hokage, who was no longer around. It would take at least the Five Kage to defeat him. Everyone silently agreed with this assessment. Madara had rightfully earned his title as the ghost of the Uchiha, along with the formidable reputation that came with it. Then Minato spoke up, expressing his thoughts. While acknowledging Madara's danger and power, Minato emphasized that they should not underestimate Naruto. He suggested that it might sound extreme, but it was possible that Naruto had nearly or already reached his grandfather's level of power. Moreover, they were unaware of his full range of fighting techniques. Onoki protested, insisting that a young boy could never match Madara's strength. Minato was about to respond, but Mei interjected, supporting Minato's viewpoint. She recalled witnessing Naruto in battle and described him as a force to be reckoned with, just as his title suggested. Onoki was ready to argue again, but Gaara spoke up, reminding everyone that they should first gather all available information about Naruto's abilities. Everyone agreed to this approach. After a brief discussion of Naruto's skills, Gaara turned to Minato and inquired if there were any weaknesses they could exploit to defeat Naruto. Minato responded that they believed there was a potential weakness, Fuinjutsu, or sealing arts. It was likely that Naruto was unfamiliar with these techniques, as he had never used them, mentioned them, or had the opportunity to learn them. The Raikage questioned whether they intended to seal away Naruto's chakra. Minato acknowledged that it might not be enough to bring him down, suggesting they should also restrict his movements. He concluded that their best plan would involve preparing a wide-range sealing formula in a specific area and luring Naruto there without him realizing it was a trap. They needed to keep his focus on fighting them to prevent him from escaping using his speed or space-time techniques. Onoki raised concerns about Madara, but Minato insisted that they would have to leave him free for a while longer, as Naruto posed a greater risk. Still unconvinced, Onoki suggested a vote on whether to prioritize eliminating Naruto first. Almost everyone raised their hands in agreement, while Onoki reluctantly conceded. With that, Gaara concluded the meeting, thanking everyone for their time. As they departed, Minato left with his thoughts racing about the war and Naruto, a concerned expression on his face. Naruto sat on a cliff, observing a large group of shinobi engaged in battle against part of the Zetsu army. Although it was somewhat dull to watch, he was there for a reason. He was waiting for Obito. Soon, he heard the familiar sound of Kamui. Obito approached from behind, commenting on the foolishness of those fighting against a world of peace. Naruto, standing up and dusting off his hands, responded with skepticism about this so-called world of peace. He then turned to Obito, asking what he wanted and what his plan was for the war. Obito revealed that he had been contacted by Kabuto, a former ally of Orochimaru, who had proposed an intriguing deal. Naruto questioned why Obito would share this information, believing Kabuto had little to offer. Obito explained that Kabuto had mastered and perfected the Edo Tensei, which surprised Naruto, though he kept his reaction hidden. Obito continued, revealing that Kabuto had the ability to summon legendary ninja, including the seven swordsmen of the Mist and past Kage, with the exception of the Hokages, who were trapped in the Shinigami's stomach. Naruto was taken aback but quickly dismissed his curiosity, acknowledging Kabuto's worth and asking about the terms of the deal. Obito stated that he intended to give Kabuto Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto scoffed at the idea, pointing out that whatever Kabuto planned with Sasuke would be futile once the infinite Tsukuyomi was cast. Obito agreed with this assessment. As Naruto began to walk away, Obito called out to him, revealing one last detail. Kabuto also had Naruto's grandfather as an Edo Tensei. Naruto paused briefly, concluding that Kabuto was even more foolish than he had initially thought, and then walked off. Obito turned back to the ongoing battle, reflecting on how the shinobi were merely ants trying to thwart his dream. He believed they would soon realize their powerlessness against him and that the Moon Eye plan would ultimately succeed. With that, Obito's form began to spiral into his right eye, and he vanished. Meanwhile, on Turtle Island, a group of shinobi was making their way toward some ruins. After walking for some time, one of them expressed their frustration at the monotony of the journey. Natsumi complained about the boredom, throwing her arms up in exasperation. Irika, leading the group, assured her that they would reach the ruins soon. Mito questioned why they were walking instead of tree-hopping, to which Akumo Jonin explained that Lord B had advised against it to avoid unsettling the wildlife. Natsumi voiced her discontent, wishing to fight rather than hide on a secret island. Irika reminded her that it was too dangerous for her to be out there, especially since the enemy was hunting the last jinchuriki her. He warned that if Madara or Naruto came after her, she would be in grave danger. Irika explained to her that she was also there to train in using the Kyuubi's chakra, as if he were giving her another academy lesson. Natsumi pouted but chose not to respond, walking a few steps ahead. Somewhere in the land of lightning, a few shinobi were seen drawing intricate designs on the ground with chakra. Among them were Minato and Kushina, both glistening with sweat as a giant seal matrix began to manifest beneath them. This was not just a simple seal magnified. It was a complex matrix composed of dozens of different seals. The purpose of this giant seal was clear: to incapacitate Naruto. While it wouldn't kill him, it would immobilize him long enough for them to neutralize the threat he posed. Minato and Kushina didn't want to harm their son, but they understood that failing to do so would bring suffering to the world. This seal was their only hope, as they believed he was too powerful for them to confront directly. The Raikage approached Minato, expressing his respect for the man, knowing the weight of creating and using such a seal against his own son. Although he had no children of his own, he couldn't fathom the emotional turmoil that came with such a decision. Looking up from his work, Minato estimated that it would take a few hours to complete the seal, as incorporating so many different seals into one was no easy task. His face bore a constant scowl, burdened by the current state of the world. War was looming, and his daughters were at risk. The enemy he had to confront was his own son, a thought that weighed heavily on his mind. He could see that Kushina was grappling with similar thoughts as he glanced at her. Meanwhile, Naruto was moving swiftly through a forest, heading toward another battlefield not to fight, but to assess the situation. Suddenly, he halted on a branch, noticing something emerging from the tree. It was Black Zetsu. Naruto inquired if Zetsu had located their target, to which Zetsu confirmed that they were moving toward the center of the war but was unsure of their intentions. Zetsu also mentioned that the Kyuubi's chakra was now accessible to the brats. Dismissing the significance of their newfound control, Naruto demanded to be taken to them. With a grin, Zetsu sank into the ground and sped off toward the jinchuriki, with Naruto effortlessly keeping pace. In another scene, Natsumi, Mito, and B sprinted across a grassy expanse. Normally, they would have taken a different route, but Minato had instructed them to traverse that area. They were puzzled but didn't argue, as it was only a minor detour. Suddenly, B shouted a warning, and they halted as the ground cracked and dust was kicked up from someone landing in front of them. As the dust settled, they saw Naruto standing there, clad in armor reminiscent of Madara's, though with inverted colors, dark red robes and black armor plates. Natsumi exclaimed in surprise, recognizing her brother, who had matured significantly. He now stood at about 6 feet 2 inches, his hair neck-length, and his face showing signs of growth. The rest of his body was concealed beneath his armor, leaving her unable to note any other changes. B remarked on the situation, and Mito questioned Naruto about his allegiance to the Akatsuki and why he had left the village. Naruto coldly replied that he had his reasons, none of which were their concern. Natsumi pleaded with him to reconsider, suggesting that they could defeat the Akatsuki together and return to Konoha as a family. At this, Naruto cracked a slight grin, questioning the notion of their family ties. He reminded them of the years he spent alone after they had left him behind. Mito attempted to explain that they had left for good reasons, needing to train to control the Kyuubi's chakra, but Naruto dismissed her words, expressing his frustration over being abandoned. He charged at Natsumi, appearing before her in an instant and launching a kick at her side. She crossed her arms to defend herself but was still sent flying. Naruto then executed a back fist that connected with Mito's face, causing her to roll away, gripping her jaw in pain and glaring at him. He called out a technique, but Naruto swiftly ducked and delivered a series of rapid punches to B's side, following up with a knee to his stomach that caused B to bend slightly. He continued his assault with a jab to B's throat and a punch to his temple, sending him flying a considerable distance. Standing there, Naruto regarded his three opponents with a blank stare, feeling a sense of disappointment at their lack of challenge. Just then, he leaped back as a figure crashed to the ground where he had just stood. The impact kicked up a dust cloud. Soon, the dust cleared, revealing an angry A. He expressed his frustration, demanding that someone keep their hands off his brother. Beside him stood several others: Minato, Kushina, Onoki, Gaara, Mei, Tsunade, and Guy. Naruto remained unfazed, his expression cold, showing no intimidation despite facing a group of Kage-level shinobi. Minato quickly turned to the three jinchuriki, instructing them to leave and stop Madara while they dealt with Naruto. They nodded and began to run, having healed from the earlier confrontation thanks to their bijou. Minato faced Naruto again, performing a series of hand seals before slamming his palms onto the ground. A large seal matrix lit up momentarily, indicating its activation. Naruto glanced around, curious about the seal's purpose, but nothing seemed to happen. Minato called out to Naruto, urging him to stop and promising that he would be pardoned for leaving Konoha. He emphasized that Naruto had not committed any further offenses and pleaded for him to reconsider before making a regrettable decision. Kushina joined in, tears welling in her eyes as she begged Naruto to return to them, expressing her sorrow for having left him behind. Naruto stood silent for a moment before firmly rejecting their pleas. The brevity of his response surprised everyone. Kushina's tears flowed more freely, filled with regret for the past weeks since Naruto had turned against them. Minato stood frozen for a moment, a tear escaping his eye as he sighed deeply. With renewed resolve, he pulled out one of his Hiraishin kunai, stating that he would do what was necessary. Naruto's response was simple yet defiant. He activated his Sharingan, the tomo spinning wildly as he prepared to charge at the 8 Kage-level shinobi opposing him. Tsunade's eyes widened as Naruto appeared before her. She instinctively raised her arms to block a fist aimed at her face, wincing as the punch connected with her arms, sending her skidding back. She thought about the incredible strength he possessed. Naruto attempted to attack her again but ducked just in time to avoid a punch from the Raikage. He dodged 2 follow-up attacks and jumped back, catching a kunai meant for his head mid-air. Noticing the sealing formula on the kunai handle, he tried to discard it, but it was too late. In a flash, Minato was in front of him with a Rinnegan in hand, moving it into Naruto's stomach, only to hit an ethereal ribcage. Naruto deactivated his Susanoo and threw a punch at Minato, which was swiftly blocked. Minato retaliated, and the two engaged in a fierce taijutsu battle. As their fight escalated, Naruto had to leap away to avoid a glob of lava from Mei, followed by a wave of sand from Gaara. He dodged the sand and dashed toward the young Kazekage, but was interrupted by a spinning kick that sent him flying back. Might Guy shouted as he executed his move, Konoha Senpu. Naruto landed and was immediately met with another attack. Onoki unleashed a technique, engulfing Naruto in a cylinder of white light. When the jutsu concluded, nothing remained of Naruto. Onoki scoffed, declaring that the boy was nowhere near Madara's level and that it had been an easy fight. Suddenly, Minato's eyes widened as he looked behind Onoki, but it was too late to warn him. A kunai pierced Onoki's back, sending him crashing into some rocks from a powerful punch. Naruto stood there, his armor slightly dusted but intact, except for a minor burn on his left arm. His face was filled with anger as he confronted Minato, accusing him of being responsible for the seal that had been activated upon his arrival. Minato winced at the fury in his son's voice, while the others looked on in confusion. Tsunade was the first to speak, continuing to heal Onoki after removing the kunai from his back. She asked Minato what Naruto meant. Minato explained that he had developed a seal to prevent Naruto from using his intangibility while still allowing himself to utilize the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Naruto interjected, acknowledging Minato's cleverness in creating a seal that kept him from leaving the dimension while allowing spatial travel within the area. He expressed his admiration for the seal but declared it was time to stop talking and charge at the group once more, his Sharingan spinning wildly. And Minato met his charge, engaging in taijutsu. Naruto dodged A's attacks while blocking Minato's, but he knew he couldn't maintain this for long. Even with his incredible speed, it was challenging to contend with the fourth Raikage and Hokage, especially while avoiding earth-shattering punches. In a moment of desperation, Naruto's Sharingan briefly transformed into the Rinnegan as he called out a powerful technique, sending a crashing away while Minato vanished. Jumping back, Naruto formed a hand seal and unleashed a fireball jutsu, sending a green ball of flames toward the group. Mei and Kushina reacted quickly, firing two large water bullets that collided with Naruto's jutsu, creating a massive cloud of steam. Undeterred, Naruto launched another attack, summoning a fire dragon that charged forward. He ducked to avoid another strike from it but had to leap again to evade Gaara's sand. He noticed more steam in his peripheral vision, indicating that his jutsu had once again been blocked by a water technique. As he descended, he saw a charging at him once more. He quickly started dodging the brute's attacks again, while also keeping an eye on the jutsu the others were preparing. After 5 minutes, he had enough. He slammed through a few trees with a powerful technique, before forming the horse hand sign and turning to the rest of the group. A massive wall of green fire illuminated the entire area, scorching the ground and burning everything in its path. Kushina and Mei acted quickly, creating a giant water wall, followed by an earth wall from a now fully healed Oinoki. Unfortunately for them, they underestimated Naruto's flames, as the fire broke through their defenses quickly, forcing them to dodge. Once the smoke cleared, it revealed that Tsunade, Oinoki, Mei, and Kushina had some burns but mostly evaded the attack. Naruto had no time to relax, as Minato appeared in front of him, followed closely by A and Guy. Tsunade joined them a moment later. Naruto activated his enhanced Sharingan, needing to avoid the attacks of 3 powerful opponents. While Minato lacked the strength of the others, he made up for it with incredible speed. Tsunade, on the other hand, was slower but hit harder than the rest. Naruto grimaced as he blocked a punch from A. He had had enough of holding back. Charging his body with chakra, especially in his legs and arms, he retaliated with a fierce right hook, flipped in the air to avoid Guy's kick, and landed a blow to Tsunade's face, causing her to stumble. He followed up with 5 swift punches to Guy's neck, face, and stomach, before delivering a roundhouse kick to Minato's side. Standing tall, Naruto swiftly dodged multiple fast slashes from a katana wielded by Kushina, who had now released her chakra chains. She continued her assault, but Naruto easily evaded her strikes, catching her arm and forcing her to drop her sword. Before she could recover, he sent her flying through the air with a swift kick. She landed harshly next to Tsunade, just as A and Guy charged at Naruto again. Suddenly, a large wave of sand rushed toward Naruto while A and Guy dodged out of the way. The sand surrounded him, only to be blasted away, revealing Naruto with his hands outstretched. Mei then shot out a glob of lava, but Naruto dodged to the side, only to be met with a cloud of acid mist. He quickly used a wind technique to push the mist away and glared at Mei before rushing toward her. He appeared in front of her, trapping her in a genjutsu. Just as he was about to continue his attack, Guy, now surrounded by a blue aura, intervened. Naruto acknowledged the 7th gate that Guy had opened. Then, Minato sent him flying, his eyes now displaying orange pigments with pupils resembling bars. Naruto was surprised but quickly regained his composure, recognizing that Minato had mastered his Sage Mode. The fight was escalating. The 4th Hokage was feared across all nations for his battle prowess, and now he had even mastered Sage Mode, giving him a significant boost in power. Might Guy, though less known, was also formidable, having opened the 7th of the 8 chakra gates. Despite this, Naruto merely smiled, a menacing grin spreading across his face. He relished the challenge and shouted for them to show him their power. In an instant, all three combatants disappeared, and a millisecond later, the earth shook from their clash. Naruto used his own hands to block Minato's attack while using an arm of his Susanoo to defend against Guy. The fact that his Susanoo withstood Guy's hit was a testament to the might of his Sharingan, especially when Madara's ribcage had not held up against Tsunade. This was getting interesting, Naruto thought, embracing the love for battle that his grandfather was known for. He charged at Minato with a spinning kick that was blocked by an arm. A counter from the blonde Hokage was dodged by ducking, but Naruto had to block a hit from Guy instead. He grimaced as his arms shook from the punch delivered by the taijutsu master, but the pain did not deter him, and he jumped right back into the fray. I decided to join the fight, resulting in a scene of four blurs moving at extreme speeds, sometimes colliding with one another. The rest of the team sent to confront Naruto could do little more than watch, unable to keep up with the speed of the battle. They also couldn't fire any jutsu, as it would likely miss and risk hitting an ally. The fight remained a blur for the next few minutes until Naruto was slightly overwhelmed and sent flying by Might Guy. He spun in the air, his armor cracking in the stomach area, yet he still wore a bloodthirsty grin. He declared that it was fun but that he would have to end it, sensing something monumental approaching. Minato was silenced when he felt a massive pulse of chakra wash over the land. His eyes widened, realizing this power far surpassed the Nine Tails. Naruto's expression became calmer as he prepared to finish the battle. However, before he could unleash his full power, he was slammed into the ground as hundreds of ceiling arrays lit up around him, snaking up his body. Straining to look up, he saw Minato holding a hand sign. Minato declared that it was over and that Naruto could not escape the seals in time. Everyone quickly went through their own hand signs and attacked in unison with a barrage of powerful techniques. The multitude of jutsu flew toward Naruto, who struggled against the seals binding him. He couldn't control his chakra or move, only able to glare at Minato, his own father, who was now responsible for his fate. Kushina shed tears as she cast her water dragon, holding the resolve to protect her other two children. The jutsu struck the bound Uchiha, resulting in a massive explosion. Everyone watched with bated breath as the dust began to settle. Once the vision cleared, it revealed nothing but a large hole carved into the ground. Kushina fell to the ground, crying, while Minato dropped his hand sign and rushed to her side, trying his best to comfort her. The others present looked on with stoic expressions, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. Minato and Kushina were in tears, while Tsunade and Onoki were nursing their injuries, though they were not severe. A Wara's scowl, Mei appeared disappointed, and Gaara looked relieved. Guy still had the seventh gate open, but something felt off. It was a nagging sensation that he couldn't shake. Someone like Naruto wouldn't fall so easily. He was undoubtedly Guy's most formidable opponent, capable of holding his own against him with the seventh gate activated, Minato in Sage mode, and A at the same time. Such power wouldn't be extinguished so simply. The battle had been intense, but Naruto had primarily engaged in taijutsu. Guy sensed there was more to Naruto's abilities. He glanced back at the spot where Naruto had been restrained before their assault. Suddenly, a noise broke the tension from behind the group heavy breathing. Then came a voice, dark and filled with hatred, as if it belonged to a demon. The words echoed with fury, cutting through the air. Guy turned slowly to face the source. Naruto stood before them, his armor cracked, his left arm bruised, and his breathing labored. Most strikingly, his left eye was white, blinded. He looked up, and the group turned to him, his one eye blazing with the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. He declared that they would not stop him from reuniting with his love, vowing to destroy them all. Chakra exploded from Naruto, cracking the ground and pushing the group back. The energy surged, and Minato felt a sense of dread. He realized Naruto was gathering nature chakra at an alarming rate, far too quickly for it to be safe. The chakra suddenly ceased and was drawn back into Naruto, who collapsed to his knees. Minato was astonished. Taking in that much nature chakra so rapidly should have been fatal. For a brief moment, Naruto's body was engulfed in green flames. When the flames subsided, he stood again, his skin darkened and covered in what appeared to be scales. eyes glowed, and alongside the Sharingan, his pupil became slitted like a cat's. His fingers grew claws, his teeth sharpened, and a pair of draconic wings sprouted from his back. He pointed a finger at Minato, declaring death to his father. Before Minato could react, Naruto was upon him, seizing his head. Minato attempted to use Hiraishin to teleport away, but he found himself unable to move. He looked into Naruto's remaining eye, which had transformed once more. Naruto raised his hand, and an ethereal purple ghost followed, emerging from Minato's body. He stated that he was using the human path. Guy and A charged at Naruto, but they were blocked by his Susanoo, which quickly evolved into a humanoid form, sending a fist toward them. Meanwhile, Minato felt a familiar sensation, one he had only experienced once before the night of the Kyuubi attack when Hiruzen had summoned the Shinigami. It was the feeling of death. Naruto locked eyes with Minato, his gaze cold as he continued to extract his father's soul. Minato pleaded, but Naruto's voice was filled with rage as he accused Minato of abandoning him and attempting to thwart his reunion with the only person who mattered to him. Minato shivered at his son's tone, feeling guilt wash over him. He knew it was his fault. If he hadn't left Naruto behind, none of this would have happened. He asked about the girl Naruto had mentioned, the one who had sparked this conflict, hoping for some explanation. But Naruto dismissed him, declaring that Minato was unworthy to know her name, let alone be in her presence. With that, he completed the extraction of Minato's soul, ending his father's life. Kushina's eyes widened in horror as she witnessed the loss, her tears soaking her clothes. Guy and A felt a deep frustration at their inability to penetrate the Susanoo, but they also felt the weight of Minato's death like a punch to the gut. Minato had been their friend and a vital ally. Mei, Onoki, and Gaara looked on in shock at the demise of the fourth Hokage. Tsunade stood by Kushina, glaring at Naruto with hatred. As Naruto absorbed Minato's soul and memories, he was flooded with information, knowledge, and jutsu. A smirk crossed his face as he tossed Minato's body aside. Kushina rushed to her husband's side, cradling him in her arms. Naruto performed a series of hand signs and slammed his hands onto the ground, shattering the space-time barrier that had prevented him from using Kamui. Once again, Guy and A charged at him, their attacks coming from both sides. Naruto caught their fists effortlessly. Guy noted the strength of Sage Mode as he was sent flying into a wall, while A was smashed further into the stone. As Naruto dominated the two Kage-level shinobi, Gaara, Onoki, Mei, and Tsunade struggled to keep up with the rapid movements, their frustration mounting. They could only watch as the battle unfolded, feeling powerless. Kushina was oblivious to the fight, sitting on the ground, hugging and weeping over her husband's lifeless body. Her world had shattered, and her will was broken. Tsunade stood behind her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder, but Kushina remained lost in her grief. Tsunade gently called out to her, but Kushina ignored her. When Tsunade raised her voice, Kushina finally looked up. Tsunade reminded her that they didn't have time to grieve, they needed to stop Naruto. Kushina looked down, feeling overwhelmed. Tsunade urged her to remember that Naruto had killed Minato and would go after their daughters next. Would she allow that to happen? Would she let him take the last of her family? Those words struck Kushina deeply. She realized Tsunade was right, her daughters were in danger. She placed a final kiss on Minato's forehead and shakily stood up, asking what they could do. Tsunade had no answer, but they would find a way. Meanwhile, Naruto had severely injured Guy and A, both bleeding, with A missing his left arm. Naruto had reached his limit. He had wasted enough time. Naruto blitzed past A, breaking through the lightning armor and striking the Raikage with a fierce blow to the chest. That was the second. Naruto turned his gaze to Guy, who was preparing to unleash his power. It was time for the red beast to emerge. Suddenly, Guy was pulled toward Naruto, caught in a powerful force. In response, Naruto unleashed a massive stream of green fire at him. Guy managed to escape the flames, but not without suffering severe burns across his body. Naruto appeared before him, locking eyes and using his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan to ensnare Guy in a genjutsu. For a brief moment, Guy was paralyzed, which was more than enough time for Naruto to act. With a swift motion, he invoked Amaterasu, and black flames engulfed Guy, consuming him. Guy's cries of pain faded as his life slipped away. Naruto turned to the remaining group, declaring that he had no time to waste. He summoned his gigantic perfect Susanoo, a towering figure of green chakra that loomed over the five. The Susanoo brought its hands together, and a massive greatsword materialized in its grip. With a fierce shout, the Susanoo swung down, obliterating the ground upon impact. As the Susanoo vanished, Naruto landed gracefully, still in sage mode. He surveyed the devastation around him, feeling a sense of satisfaction. Suddenly, he sensed something and turned to see the god tree collapsing. It seemed he would need to move quickly. Soon, Kaguya-chan. Soon they would be reunited. Naruto smiled and sprinted toward the other battlefield. As he raced forward at incredible speeds, he suddenly halted and turned his head to the right. Black Zetsu emerged from the ground, informing him about the situation. Naruto nodded for him to continue. Zetsu explained that the Juubi had re-emerged, and Madara was now its jinchuriki, preparing to unleash the infinite Tsukuyomi. Naruto's expression shifted to one of disappointment as he learned that many from the alliance were still alive, but most would soon fall victim to the infinite Tsukuyomi. Zetsu revealed that two individuals in particular posed a problem: Sasuke Uchiha and Natsume Uzumaki. Mito was there too, but she had yet to awaken her dormant powers. As for Obito, he was dead. Naruto realized that they were the reincarnations of Hagoromo's descendants. Those brats would fall like the rest. Zetsu smirked, confident that none could stand against them, and soon their mother would join them as well. Naruto frowned at the mention of Izanagi, explaining that Minato had prepared an annoying seal, but he had anticipated this and prepared Izanagi beforehand. Zetsu understood and asked if everyone was dead. Naruto's silence spoke volumes. Zetsu urged him to proceed, as he would need both of his eyes for his rebirth. Naruto's expression turned slightly disappointed as he revealed that the Rinnegan was the solution. He called forth the Naraka path, summoning the King of Hell, surrounded by purple flames. Zetsu realized what was happening and stated he would leave. Without further ado, Naruto stepped into the giant mouth of the King of Hell, which snapped shut behind him. Time passed. Madara had just unleashed the infinite Tsukuyomi and looked down at the giant purple Susanoo, glaring at it. Those brats. He descended to the ground, standing on a small cliff as Sasuke's Susanoo slowly vanished, revealing the remains of the Shinobi Alliance. Sasuke Uchiha, Natsume Uzumaki, Mito Uzumaki, and Kakashi Hatake stood together, staring up at him. Black Zetsu emerged beside Madara, prompting him to inquire about Naruto's whereabouts. Zetsu smiled, knowing Madara had no idea what was about to unfold. He assured Madara that Naruto was on his way. Madara nodded and turned back to Team 7, who were questioning him about the infinite Tsukuyomi and its consequences. Natsume protested, insisting that this was not peace and that people were suffering. Madara calmly dismissed her, confident in his victory. Sasuke interjected, warning Madara that Naruto was not his ally and had his own agenda. Black Zetsu glared silently at Sasuke. Madara, however, remained unfazed, explaining that he had trained Naruto and that he was absolutely loyal to him. Sasuke and Natsume insisted they had spoken to the Sage of Six Paths, who had warned them about Naruto's true intentions. Madara grew tired of the conversation and prepared to attack, but was suddenly caught off guard as a hand pierced through his chest from behind. What? Madara's eyes widened in shock as he sensed Naruto's chakra behind him. Nichan. Mito and Natsume exclaimed in surprise, while the others looked on in shock, Sasuke frowning. Naruto greeted Madara coldly, apologizing for the sudden intrusion and expressing his impatience. Right on time, Zetsu chimed in gleefully. Madara, stunned, demanded to know what was happening. Naruto explained that while Madara believed he was the mastermind, he was merely a pawn in the plan to free his love. Madara's fury grew as he questioned who this love was. Naruto revealed that it was Kaguya Otsutsuki, the mother of the Sage of Six Paths and the progenitor of chakra. Madara was left speechless, unable to comprehend the implications of Naruto's words. He had always believed he was the one behind it all. Black Zetsu cackled, revealing the truth to Naruto as he began to gather chakra. It was a deception. Zetsu was, in fact, Kaguya's will. Meanwhile, Team 7 listened intently. Natsumi expressed her surprise, realizing that Kaguya was the figure the sage had mentioned. Mito was in shock, exclaiming that Naruto's fiancée was an ancient chakra goddess. Sasuke remained cool but acknowledged the potential trouble they faced. Natsumi, filled with panic and anger, chastised Sasuke for his nonchalant attitude. If they had struggled against Madara, how could they hope to defeat a literal goddess and Naruto simultaneously? They needed to prevent that from happening. Mito and Kakashi were taken aback by Natsumi's seriousness, while Sasuke, annoyed by her insult, silently agreed with her. Suddenly, Madara's voice pierced the air with a chilling scream. The team turned to witness the scene unfolding before them. Naruto, surrounded by a storm of chakra and with glowing eyes, was pulling his hand from Madara's chest, extracting the 10 tails. Unlike previous jinchuriki, this extraction was forceful, leaving a significant wound behind. Once the 10 tails were removed, Madara collapsed, barely clinging to life. Naruto stepped back, taking a deep breath as he prepared for his transformation. He began to gather all the chakra he could muster, his Rinnegan pulsating with power, shifting from purple to a brief flash of red before returning to its original hue. As he declared his rebirth, Natsumi watched in bewilderment, while Sasuke, eager for confrontation, leaped toward Naruto with his sword drawn. Natsumi tried to intervene, but a massive shockwave of chakra erupted from Naruto, sending Sasuke crashing into the base of the god tree. A colossal dome of chakra enveloped Naruto, swirling with white energy, resembling a giant cocoon. Team 7 observed in awe, questioning what was happening. Kakashi analyzed the situation, noting that it appeared to be absorbing natural chakra and taking form inside. Natsumi, using her sage senses, confirmed the cocoon's activity. Meanwhile, Sasuke, nursing his injuries, cursed under his breath as Sakura frantically searched for him. 10 minutes later, Natsumi had been desperately trying to break the chakra cocoon, but Kakashi advised her to conserve her energy. Suddenly, cracks began to form in the cocoon, capturing everyone's attention. Team 7 held their breath as more cracks appeared until the cocoon shattered into dust, which fell like snow. A strong gust of wind swept the dust away, revealing what lay within. A gigantic 10-tailed dragon emerged, equipped with 4 wings and limbs, a powerful neck, and a fearsome head adorned with sharp teeth and dangerous horns. Its 10 long, whip-like tails were capable of interconnecting. The dragon's scales shimmered in black and bronze, thick yet flexible. The dragon let out a roar that resonated through the heavens. The Juubi was reborn. Naruto was reborn. Naruto surveyed his surroundings, feeling immense. He had transformed into a colossal being, his hands retaining a human-like shape but now adorned with sharp claws and gleaming scales. His magnificent wings extended from his shoulders and hips, while his 10 tails merged into a single powerful appendage. Instinctively, he swung his tail against the ground, causing the earth to tremble and a massive canyon to form. His eyes had evolved into Rinnegan, reflecting the power of Kaguya Otsutsuki. The energy radiating from them felt almost sentient, as if perceiving the very fabric of reality. His chakra surged within him, an overwhelming force that dwarfed his previous reserves, igniting exhilaration deep within. However, Naruto refocused on his mission, channeling immense chakra into his new eyes, feeling the energy pulse with potential. On the ground, Team 7 struggled to regain their footing after the earthquake caused by Naruto's transformation. Natsumi trembled in disbelief, questioning if that colossal figure was truly Naruto. Sasuke smirked, recognizing the transformation and pondering what it meant for Naruto's identity. Kakashi assessed the situation gravely, acknowledging the beast itself. Mito, confused and frightened, questioned how this was even possible. The uncertainty loomed, but for now, they had to prepare for what was to come. The only thing that mattered was figuring out how to stop him, Kakashi thought, his voice steady and betraying no hint of panic. Natsumi's eyes were glued to Naruto, who had transformed into a towering giant. Whatever he was doing, They needed to stop it now, Sasuke yelled, channeling his energy as he formed his Susanoo. Natsumi and Mito quickly joined him, their combined chakra morphing into a vibrant Kyuubi chakra mode. Sasuke's Susanoo wrapped around the Kurama avatar like armor, a blade materializing in its grasp. With a fierce battle cry, the armored Kurama avatar leaped toward Naruto, but one of Naruto's tails swung down like a massive bludgeon. The impact nearly crushed the avatar, sending shockwaves rippling through the air. Though the avatar was knocked back, it regained its footing swiftly and charged at Naruto once more. The three shinobi poured their chakra into the sword, which began to glow with an intense light, signaling their determination. The avatar leapt onto Naruto, plunging the sword deep into his body. The resulting roar of rage and pain echoed through the landscape, shaking the very earth beneath them. In retaliation, Naruto combined his 10 tails into one massive appendage and struck the avatar with overwhelming force, sending it crashing back and launching the three shinobi into the air. The wound they had inflicted began to heal almost immediately, reflecting Naruto's newfound power. Frustrated, Natsumi and Mito struggled to rise from the ground. Taking a moment to gather his thoughts, Sasuke observed Naruto's chakra flow, trying to discern its direction. He noted that Naruto was channeling massive amounts of chakra into his eyes for a technique, but he couldn't tell what kind it was. Whatever it was coming, Kakashi warned as Naruto opened his enormous maw and roared at the sky, his Rinnegan Sharingan pulsating with an otherworldly light. As if responding to Naruto's call, the Rinnegan Sharingan symbol etched on the moon began to glow fiercely, signaling the impending infinite Tsukuyomi. The symbol vanished from the moon's surface and was replaced by a gigantic, ancient seal composed of intricate, glowing white lines. It was a seal so complex that even the greatest masters of Fuinjutsu would struggle to decipher it. Yet, its purpose was evident to anyone familiar with advanced sealing techniques. It was meant for imprisonment, eternal and unending. And Naruto's mission, the very essence of his jutsu, was to break that prison. Naruto's roar intensified, summoning a massive storm around him as he poured more chakra into his technique. The atmosphere crackled with energy until finally, the seal began to crack, fissures spreading across its surface at an alarming rate. It was as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling, and soon the seal was covered in a web of cracks. Finally, it exploded in a brilliant shower of white dust, sending particles cascading through the air. Just when Team 7 thought they had witnessed the end of it, a blinding light emerged from the moon. It was like a white sun, radiating purity and power. The sphere of light began to descend slowly toward the earth, illuminating everything in its path. As the roar of the colossal beast subsided, Naruto began to shrink, returning to a more humanoid form that still bore the remnants of his draconic transformation. His black hair now had striking red tips, and his eyes remained the powerful Rinnegan Sharingan. His teeth had sharpened into fangs, and his hands ended in formidable claws. Portions of his skin were covered in black and red scales, giving him an even more feral appearance. To top it all off, he retained 2 magnificent dragon wings sprouting from his back, just beneath his shoulders, along with his 10 dragon tails, currently fused into one. The bright ball of light landed softly a few feet in front of Naruto, halting mere inches above the ground. The light gradually dimmed, revealing the figure within. There she stood, regal and imposing. Kaguya Otsutsuki had returned. As Kaguya stood there, her pale eyelids fluttered open, revealing her piercing, pure white Byakugan. She gazed upon the world she hadn't seen in 1,000 years, her expression serene yet laced with an undercurrent of unspoken resolve. Black Zetsu slithered seamlessly into her sleeve as she surveyed the battlefield. Her gaze lingered briefly on the shattered terrain before drifting upward to the celestial body that had been her prison, cold and distant, a haunting reminder of her long solitude. Her attention returned to the battlefield, where her eyes locked onto Naruto's. With an elegant, deliberate step, she moved closer, her regal bearing unshaken. Her pale, delicate hand reached out to rest gently against his cheek. She expressed gratitude for all he had done for her, acknowledging his strength and loyalty, and spoke of their potential to be together forever. Naruto began to respond, his voice unsteady as emotions swirled within him. A serene smile graced her lips as she silenced him with a gentle gesture, expressing her pride in him. She stepped closer, wrapping her arms around him in a tender embrace. Meanwhile, the others stood frozen in place, utterly baffled by the unfolding scene. The battlefield's eerie silence was broken by Natsume's outraged voice, questioning who Kaguya was and why Naruto was allowing her such closeness. Mito interrupted sharply, narrowing her eyes as she studied Kaguya with quiet intensity. It became clear to her that Kaguya was the one Naruto had been pining for all this time. She sensed Kaguya's overwhelming power, far beyond anything they had faced before, and realized that only Naruto might stand a chance against her. Kakashi frowned, aligning his thoughts with Mito's grim observation. Sasuke, seated nearby as Sakura healed a wound on his back, nodded in agreement. He broke the tense silence, recalling their encounter with the Sage of Six Paths, who had granted him the Rinnegan and told them about his mother, Kaguya Otsutsuki. She had enslaved humanity with the infinite Tsukuyomi to harvest chakra and create an army of white Zetsu, and the sage and his brother had sealed her away on the moon. Everyone fell silent as the weight of Sasuke's words sank in. Finally, Kakashi spoke, his tone grim, acknowledging that the woman standing with Naruto was indeed the mother of the Sage of Six Paths, an ancient, godlike entity, and apparently, they were in love. Sasuke nodded in confirmation, leaving Kakashi visibly stunned. Sakura, desperate for a solution, interjected, asking how they could defeat their enemies. Sasuke replied flatly that they couldn't. Sakura gaped in disbelief, reminding him that he was the strongest. Her words were cut off by the collective glares of everyone present. Sasuke clarified that there was no way they could take on both foes, and even facing Kaguya alone would put them at a massive disadvantage. Kakashi frowned, questioning whether the Sage of Six Paths had provided them with something to deal with her. Natsume grinned, revealing that they had received 2 special marks intended for sealing Kaguya again. Kakashi, exasperated, asked how they could use them, to which Natsume admitted she had no idea. Meanwhile, Naruto's heart swelled with relief and elation as he realized he had finally freed Kaguya, the one who had given his life purpose and cared for him in his darkest days. He admired her ethereal beauty, from her flawless alabaster skin to her cascading white hair and serene yet commanding presence. Suddenly, his senses flared, and he instinctively caught 7 black rods midair, which would have struck both him and Kaguya had he been a moment slower. Kaguya turned slowly to face the attackers, her expression betraying no surprise. She had sensed the assault long before it began but trusted Naruto to protect them. Her gaze sharpened as she identified the assailants, expressing disdain for Ishiki, Momoshiki, and Kinshiki. Naruto furrowed his brows, sensing the depth of her fury. He recognized Ishiki from her tales but was unfamiliar with the others. He gently asked if she was all right, brushing her back in a comforting gesture. Kaguya's anger simmered, though she remained composed, stating that these 3 could pose a threat. Her gaze lingered on Ishiki as her Rinnegan Sharingan flared, analyzing his chakra. A smirk played on her lips as she taunted him about hiding in a mortal's body, suggesting he was running out of time without a vessel for rebirth. Ishiki's face darkened as he retorted that Kaguya's victory over him had been pure luck. He had no choice but to incarnate, even without a vessel. He expressed his frustration about Kaguya's return and how Naruto's growing power risked his plans. Momoshiki sneered, claiming they would put Kaguya in her place before feeding her to the god tree. Before Momoshiki's taunt could fully register, Naruto sent him flying with a powerful punch, glaring fiercely after him and declaring that no one would harm Kaguya. Ishiki wasted no time, signaling Kinshiki to attack. The massive Otsutsuki charged at Naruto with his axe. Sasuke saw their chance and activated his Susanoo, launching himself forward with Natsume by his side, who was preparing a glowing Rasengan. Their target was clear Kaguya. However, she moved with fluid precision, effortlessly blocking their combined assault. Momoshiki, furious, freed himself from the crumbling mountainside, his golden Rinnegan blazing with rage. He launched himself into the air, toward the escalating battle. On the battlefield, Naruto twisted in midair, catching Ishiki's fist with ease. The impact sent shockwaves through the terrain. He retaliated with a punch, only for it to be intercepted by Ishiki's palm. The exchange of blows intensified, the air trembling under the weight of their power. Despite Ishiki's precision, it was clear Naruto had the upper hand, his speed blinding and strength overwhelming. A feral grin spread across Naruto's face, his blood pumping with the thrill of battle. As Ishiki's strikes grew more desperate, Kinshiki barreled into Naruto from the side, followed by a crushing blow from Momoshiki. The combined assault hurled Naruto through several jagged boulders. Dust and debris filled the air, but he seemed unfazed. Hovering above the rubble, he wiped a small trail of blood from his mouth and smirked, radiating unyielding confidence. He taunted his opponents, suggesting they were desperate to kill him and almost pathetic for being scared of his and Kaguya's combined power. With a burst of energy, Naruto launched himself forward, a streak of emerald fire tearing through the air. Ishiki moved his black rods toward him, intending to impale him mid-charge, but the rods were deflected by an invisible force. Ishiki's eyes widened in recognition of the Limbo clones. Before he could react, one of the invisible clones slammed into his side, sending him crashing to the ground. Momoshiki, undeterred, raised his hand and consumed one of his chakra pills, summoning a torrent of destructive elemental techniques. The combined assault surged toward Naruto like an unstoppable force. Naruto responded with a roar, unleashing a sea of emerald-green flames that consumed Momoshiki's attacks effortlessly. The intensity of the fire forced Ishiki and Momoshiki to land to avoid the heat. High above, Kinshiki attempted a flanking maneuver, but Naruto anticipated the move. He appeared above Kinshiki, delivering a devastating dropkick that sent him plummeting, carving a deep crater into the earth. As Naruto descended gracefully, the ground trembled beneath him. But the moment he landed, Ishiki and Momoshiki rushed him. The three clashed in a whirlwind of taijutsu, their movements too fast for the human eye to follow. The ground cracked and cratered beneath their feet as they exchanged blows, each strike carrying enough force to level mountains. Naruto's smirk never faded, even as he faced two opponents simultaneously. However, Ishiki and Momoshiki grew increasingly agitated. To be pushed so far by one mortal was an insult to their pride as Otsutsuki. Their frustration deepened as Naruto's 10 draconic tails joined the fray, whipping through the air like living weapons. One tail slammed into Momoshiki's side, sending him sprawling. Another coiled around Ishiki's arm, yanking him off balance before Naruto delivered a punishing uppercut to his jaw. Still, Naruto's inexperience with his newfound tails showed. His movements, though powerful, lacked precision, leaving him open to coordinated counterattacks. Kinshiki rejoined the fray, and the three Otsutsuki began to overwhelm Naruto with their combined assault. Blow after blow struck him, driving him back until Ishiki landed a fierce kick to Naruto's face, sending him crashing into a nearby rock wall. The cliffside crumbled from the impact, burying Naruto in rubble. Ishiki wasted no time, hurling his black rods toward the debris while charging forward himself. But before the rods could strike, Naruto unleashed a powerful technique, sending an invisible force outward that sent Ishiki and his rods flying hundreds of meters away. The rubble around Naruto disintegrated as he stepped forward, unharmed and still smirking. He brushed dust from his shoulders and remarked on the Otsutsuki's so-called divine powers, mocking their reliance on taijutsu and tricks. His Rinnegan flashed as he turned his gaze toward Momoshiki, taunting him about his missing companion. Momoshiki's golden Rinnegan flared as he absorbed Kinshiki's chakra, transforming into his fused form, radiating renewed power. Momoshiki sneered, declaring Naruto a nuisance and vowing to crush him. He raised his hand to form a massive tailed beast bomb, its energy pulsating with destructive intent. In response, Naruto's form began to shift, expanding into his monstrous dragon-like Juubi form, emerald scales shimmering in the sunlight. Without hesitation, Naruto opened his massive maw and charged his own tailed beast bomb, dwarfing Momoshiki's attack. The two attacks launched simultaneously, colliding mid-air and creating an explosion of blinding light and deafening sound. The ground below was ripped apart, entire mountains crumbling under the force of the detonation. As the battlefield was consumed in chaos, the dust settled, and Naruto smirked, commenting on Momoshiki's newfound strength but dismissing it as still boring. Momoshiki's cruel grin returned, promising to savor erasing Naruto from existence. Before Naruto could respond, Ishiki struck, shrinking himself to a near-invisible size and closing the distance in an instant. The battlefield lay in ruins, the air trembling with the aftermath of Naruto's final truth-seeking orb. The massive explosion had scarred the landscape, reducing it to a desolate wasteland. The once proud Otsutsuki stood amidst the devastation, their forms battered and bruised. Ishiki's regal composure was gone, his body riddled with cracks as he struggled to maintain his stance. Momoshiki wasn't faring any better, his once glowing golden Rinnegan flickered weakly, the stolen power from Kinshiki barely keeping him upright. Towering above them was Naruto in his dragon bijou form, his 10 tails thrashing ominously as his blazing Rinne glared down at his enemies. The massive creature exuded an aura of pure dominance, his chakra shaking the heavens. He acknowledged their resilience but declared that it would end now. Ishiki coughed, blood dripping from his mouth as he straightened himself. His body was on the verge of collapse, but his pride refused to let him falter. With a burst of speed, he shot toward the colossal dragon, a desperate fury driving him forward. He slammed a powerful kick into Naruto's face, but Naruto barely reacted, likening Ishiki to a mosquito. Ishiki dodged the first 2 strikes with ease, shrinking his body to evade the third. However, Naruto's tails moved with precision, and one finally connected, sending Ishiki hurtling into the ground. The earth shattered upon impact, forming a massive crater as Ishiki's body sank into the rubble. Naruto wasted no time. With a ground-shaking roar, he charged forward, his massive frame tearing through the landscape. As he reached the fallen Otsutsuki, he opened his jaws wide, emerald flames licking at his sharp teeth. Ishiki's eyes widened in horror as the dragon's maw descended upon him. His screams were cut short as Naruto's jaws clamped down, his teeth piercing through Ishiki's divine form. The Otsutsuki's body disintegrated as Naruto absorbed his power completely, his 10 tails glowing with renewed energy. There was no karma seal left behind Naruto's unique nature as a bijou prevented it entirely. As Ishiki's essence faded into nothingness, Naruto turned his glowing eyes toward the only remaining enemy. Momoshiki stumbled backward, fear evident in his gaze as Naruto advanced. He summoned a massive chakra construct, but Naruto swiped it away effortlessly with one of his tails, sending it crumbling into dust. Naruto declared it was the end for Momoshiki. In a last-ditch effort, Momoshiki formed an enormous tailed beast bomb infused with all his remaining power and hurled it at Naruto, the energy shaking the whole area. Naruto stood his ground, absorbing the energy with his Preta path. His dragon form glowed brighter, his power reaching new heights as he launched a counterattack. With a single, earth-shattering roar, Naruto unleashed a beam of pure energy from his mouth, obliterating Momoshiki where he stood. The Otsutsuki's form was vaporized, his power consumed by Naruto's overwhelming might. With both Otsutsuki defeated, Naruto roared in victory, his voice echoing across the ruined battlefield. Naruto returned to his humanoid form, his energy radiating like a god among mortals. Without relaxing for even a second, his Rinne pulsed and caused a rip in space. A portal opened, revealing Kaguya's dimension, where Kaguya was locked in combat with Natsumi and Sasuke. The battle was fierce. Natsumi's fists, enhanced by Kurama's chakra, clashed with Kaguya's, while Sasuke used his eyes to launch his own attacks, trying to incapacitate the rabbit goddess. Despite their combined strength and the fact that her body wasn't used to battle anymore after her 1,000-year imprisonment, Kaguya was holding her own. Mito, in her KCM plus Sage Mode form, had joined the fray, her chakra chains wrapping around Kaguya's limbs to restrain her. Mito shouted, her chains glowing brighter as she held Kaguya in place briefly. Sasuke's Manjikyu Sharingan glimmered as he prepared the sealing jutsu, but his focus was interrupted by a shadow. A massive tail slammed into him, sending him flying across the battlefield. The attack had come from Naruto, who had arrived in Kaguya's dimension. Natsumi gasped in shock, her expression turning to horror as she realized what was happening. Naruto was here, and they had failed to defeat Kaguya in time. Sasuke barely managed to survive the attack, using his Rinnegan's unique ability to teleport away at the last second. But the damage was done. Kaguya broke free from her restraints, sending Mito flying with a powerful strike, her energy surging once more. Sasuke called for Natsumi to fall back, but it was too late. Kaguya struck with a chakra-formed fist, sending Natsumi crashing into a distant mountain. Naruto reverted to his human form and stood beside Kaguya, his expression unreadable. Mito spoke cautiously, her chains still glowing with chakra, urging Naruto to end the conflict without further harm. Naruto responded with determination, stating that it would end now. With Naruto and Kaguya united, the battle turned decisively against the remaining shinobi. Despite their best efforts, Natsumi, Sasuke, and Mito were overwhelmed. Natsumi was the first to fall, struck down by a combined attack from Kaguya and Naruto. Sasuke fought valiantly, using every ounce of his power to hold them off, but Naruto's overwhelming strength proved too much, and a final blow from Kaguya ended his resistance. Mito, the last to stand, unleashed her full power in a desperate attempt to stop them. However, she couldn't withstand the combined might of Naruto and Kaguya. Her chakra chains snapped as Naruto delivered the finishing blow, marking the end of the shinobi era. With their opposition defeated, Naruto and Kaguya returned to the normal dimension. The infinite Tsukuyomi still ensnared the world, casting a serene glow over the silent landscape. Hagoromo's spirit appeared before them, his expression one of sorrow, questioning if this was truly the path they wished to take, as humanity deserved a chance to change. Kaguya replied coldly, stating that humanity would have their chance, but only under their watchful eyes, as the world had suffered enough at their hands. She then banished Hagoromo's spirit from this realm. With a wave of her hand, Kaguya altered the infinite Tsukuyomi. The victims remained trapped in their cocoons, but their chakra and memories began to be stripped away. Once the process finished, they would return to an era before the Sage of Six Paths, a more primitive life without chakra, following their two gods. A new dawn arose. Naruto and Kaguya found a secluded, beautiful area to settle down. Nestled in a lush valley surrounded by towering mountains and vibrant forests, they built a modest home and started a family. Years passed peacefully. Kaguya, softened by motherhood, began to release select humans from the Tsukuyomi. Under strict conditions, these individuals were allowed to live in harmony, avoiding unnecessary conflict. Naruto watched over the world with a quiet sense of accomplishment. The shinobi era was over, and humanity thrived in simplicity. Under his and Kaguya's guidance, the world remained peaceful, a utopia forged from the ashes of war. In the end, Naruto and Kaguya succeeded in creating a new world, one free from the endless cycle of hatred and conflict. They ruled as benevolent gods, ensuring peace for generations to come.